dirtbag behind us, James Lindsay. Do you want to explain? I can't even do justice to this guy. Do you want to explain who this guy is?
Guys, you're gonna want to get some water, grab some popcorn, because this is going to be
Get high.
This is going to be a doozy. Okay, it's gonna be a lot. This is a man. I have a theory, and I personally believe that this man. Well, some background. He has a PhD in mathematics, and for some reason, he became a massage therapist shortly after. And my conspiracy is that he was a bad massage therapist who had zero risk. And because of that, he decided that he hated the spiritual therapist, and he hated that he could never have a mystical experience. And so what we are seeing is a bitter man who has never had a mystical experience, and he's making it everybody's problem.
He's making it. So this is the guy that I think came up with the term woke right, which is way less useful than alt-right or neo-Nazi. And where do I even begin? He describes himself as anti-communist, which, okay, that's fine. But for some reason, he thinks that Gnosticism and Marxism are the same thing, and that Gnosticism is the source of all the world's problems. Now, I was going to have Miguel Connor from Aeon Byte jump in on this stream as well, but I, of course, let him know that this morning on Twitter, and he's hosting a podcast tonight, so he couldn't do that. Hopefully in the future. But if you want to check it out, Miguel Connor and from Aeon Byte and Gordon White from Rune Soup did a whole hour and a half conversation, getting into the very academic debunking of his Gnostic claims. That's worth watching. Miguel sent it to me. Basically, their point on it was, for whatever reason, this guy thinks that the Gnostics are basically the archons. Like he read all the Gnostic material, and he thought that the Gnostics were all of his critiques of Gnosticism are the same critiques that Gnostics have of the people, of the bad guys, of the people who run the world. So
I also want to add that when Jason says that he read the Gnostic text, what he really means is that he read the first two sentences of each chapter and then came up with his own conclusions. And
James
it was
Lindsay, not me.
Yeah, it was a very superficial read, and a lot of his critics, myself included, once you start listening to this man speak, you're gonna, guys, this is, like I said, a long video. It's about 2 hours, and I only got 30 minutes into it. And usually I can run through these things, but this was hard because this man uses hyperbolic language and a ton of rhetorical tricks. So it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's really insufferable and bad, but he has over 550,000 followers on Twitter, and he was on Jordan Peterson's podcast.
Oh, yeah. And Jordan Peterson was agreeing with him. Jordan. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah. Kermit, why?
Yeah. Frauder RC says there's photos of James Lindsay with Nexium. Oh, no.
Well, there you go.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Allegedly. That's interesting. Well, this is 2 hours and some. It's probably going to be longer because we're probably going to be pausing to react to it. So strap in. We're basically going to get high and riff on this. So it's awful. Everything that comes out of his mouth is just nonsense. It doesn't track logically. His points are bizarre. Everything he says is academically incorrect. I don't know who he's standing in front of the logo of what looks like a fake scam to get people's retirement money, and ironically standing in front of a heart with a symbol of a heart with a serpent around it, which is a Gnostic symbol. I'm not sure if he knows that or not. The heart girt with the serpent. If
you don't like our symbols, don't take them.
Yeah, and make them ugly. Like what is that? It's like a severed human heart or something. Yeah, we're just gonna lay it on you here. Feel free to riff in the comments and talk about how awful this guy is.
Yeah, like I said, you're gonna need some water, and if you have anything to help you cope through this, as we do, please partake. And I think that's basically it.
We'll say the thing you said yesterday about the backlash being here.
The what?
That this is like part of the backlash.
Oh, yeah. Well, for years I've been lamenting the inevitable backlash of the Conservative Party because of the absolute buffoonery of the Democrats, and a lot of this could have been prevented, guys,
If they didn't just
if
hand
we
it
had
over.
just been a little bit normal.
A little bit less insane.
Like, if we would have been just nicer to the women and to the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, I have been complaining about this for like 7+ years because logically, if you follow where things are going to lead, this could have been avoided. And now
Like
we're
most
here.
Like most things that go wrong in life, this could have been easily avoided. People are saying that the logo is an abstract lion head, which is even funnier. And first of all, I don't like that he did it awfully, but it's even funnier. And it is, of course, the lion's head is a symbol of the demiurge.
Yeah, see, he works for him. Clearly
like,
an Agent Smith.
This guy, and a lot of people listen to this guy, so it is ridiculous that it's gotten to this level. But here we are. Jason's still at it, fucking policing shit. All right, let's have at it, shall we?
By the way, Jason was only able to get 3 minutes into this video yesterday.
I can't. All right. Let us know if the sound's all right, if there's any issues, and let's roll.
Drank from the fire hose. I promise nothing tonight will be hard. I never said anything complicated in my entire life. Believe me. Okay, so just to kind of recap very briefly, because I do want to get through this and I don't want it to take all night. Last night we talked, I gave a talk, I said I'm giving 3 lectures at this seminar.
So notice that he comes straight out the gate with the NLP. Notice the embedded command, believe me.
And notice how you feel when he speaks.
Yeah, by the way, that's my least favorite NLP technique. When people are like, just believe me, they slip it in. You automatically want to not believe them. It's just retarded NLP.
This workshop, and they have a theme together, which is the secret religions of the West, and the previous talk to kind of tie into the idea of mere simulacrity, I discussed the idea of negation of the real. And of course, we heard earlier from our friend Mike, aka Vocal Distance, a lot of detail about what that looks like. It should have started to kind of, some of these concepts might start to gel, even if you're not familiar with them. And the idea of that talk was that if you're going to introduce a fake religion or get people to adopt an old religion that is a pretense to religion, or to get people to believe in the pretense to science, a fake or a counterfeit science, then the first thing you have to do is obliterate their ability to understand reality. And Mike Young's talk earlier today was very much along those lines. There was a kind of that sharp moment where he described the postmodern city. We went through the 3 postmodern philosophers, and he said that is the philosophy of America today, which was that we can't detect the real. So from there, today, I want to take you into a talk that I'm going to call the Gnostic parasite. And so we introduced the idea that there are these kind of 3 domains last night that we called faith, or I called faith, reason, and gnosis. And those 3 domains are what we're going to talk about. And what I was trying to set up or articulate is that faith and reason speak into reality, and they work really well together. And gnosis is something.
Why?
Yeah, why? So first of all, faith and reason do not work well together. Also, faith does not lead you to reality. It is by definition a leap of faith. It's by definition belief and trust in something that you cannot see, interact with, or prove, right? So therefore you have faith in it. So it is inherently irrational. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about straight out the gate. By the way, we have the reason we're having doubling up audio is because I have these headphones that are open back headphones that come out. So unfortunately, that means I think that when you want to talk, you're gonna have to raise your hand or something, and then I'm gonna have to click various things. All right.
Thing that takes advantage of their weaknesses. And so what I want to communicate tonight is that it actually works very much like a parasite upon those 2, or we could say a virus, which is sort of a parasitic suborganism kind of thing. So it takes advantage of weaknesses, and that's going to kind of come up again and again. But what the idea is that we've got these three, not two, big dispositions. People say, is woke a religion? Well, it's a good question. And the answer is, depends on what you mean by
Whenever people say, well, that's a good question, it means I don't know the answer.
religion, not to fall into the trap, because it's more accurately a cult. And it's in the benefit of the cult to make for the people in the cult to make other people.
What cult? Like, there's not even any, like, not organized Gnostic thing. I mean, like, what, Aeon Byte Radio? Like, people who like Philip K. Dick?
We're going to try to not interrupt so much, but it's just so hard, guys. He's just literally one sentence after the other.
Yeah, we're gonna be tempted to
hard.
stop, like, after every sentence because it's all just garbage, but that's gonna be really frustrating for you guys, so we'll try and keep it together. Maybe we can, like, we could take notes and, like, stack up, I don't know.
People believe that it's a religion. And is woke a science? Well, they call it a science. They call it the science. And it's to the benefit of the people in the cult to make people believe it's truer science.
Can you guys hear
But
us?
what we're
and this at the
actually
same time?
discussing with these three orientations is three competing dispositions toward knowledge and truth, and that these have lied underneath the West from its foundations, 2,500 years ago or more. A metaphor I want to build off for this talk is actually I want to take you into something Ben Shapiro presented very effectively, his idea that what makes Western civilization is Athens plus Jerusalem. And I'm going to say that that's a stand-in, a symbolic stand-in for reason plus faith. And what I've articulated or started to articulate with this series of talks with the secret religions of the West is that there's a third disposition, not just reason and faith, which is basically not quite Hogwarts, but if you've read the books, but Durmstrang, the dark wizard place. It's
can talk
wizards,
over
it's
him now.
sorcery,
I figured
it's
it out.
Hermeticists and Gnostics using what we called small g gnosis.
He doesn't even...
So what the full formulation, not to take away from Ben Shapiro in
Look
any
how
way,
bored
but the
the
full
audience is.
formulation should be
Look at
about
how
what makes
non-existent
Athens plus
the audience is.
Jerusalem so
Like three
great,
boomers.
besides what it provides in a positive sense, is that it boxes out a third geographical location that we use as a metaphor. Athens gets together with Jerusalem to box out Alexandria. And Alexandria, that portion of Egypt, is where allegedly, at least, the Hermetic faith arose.
It's not a faith.
The god Hermes,
It's a
that it's
literary
named
genre.
after, is called in the Egyptian religions Thoth.
Also, it didn't come from
Plato
there. It was
refers
people
in the Phaedrus
saying that
directly
came-
to
what came from
the
Egypt.
claim. He puts into Socrates' mouth the claim that the ideas that they're discussing come from this region of Egypt, from a god called Thoth, who happens to be called Hermes.
Oh,
So
no.
the goal, though, is that
Not-
reason and
not-
faith,
not
what I want to
Hermes.
communicate to you today, and it would point toward a solution, and I want to give you a lot more clarity on what this Hermeticism, what this Gnosticism is, and what it looks like, how it works,
Okay,
but
pause
is that
this.
when reason
I
and
have
faith
to
work
say
together, they
something
box out
before we move
gnosis.
forward.
Okay, so you'll be able to pause it just by clicking that left mouse button if you keep it on that YouTube. So,
Super cool. Okay.
okay, so you can pause.
So I want everybody to notice how he's already speaking of this as if it's a monolith, and if anyone has ever seriously studied Gnosticism, you would know right away that it's not a monolith. And
I mean, Gnosticism was wiped out in the the 3rd century, or shortly after the 3rd century. It was wiped out and then erased from the canon by the Nicene Creed, and we didn't even know. We barely knew anything about it until 1947, when the Dead Sea, or when the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Nag Hammadi codices were surfaced. One of the things that Gordon and Miguel pointed out on their video is that apparently prior to the surfacing of those were ancient texts that had just been buried in the desert, and somebody, like literally just somebody, dug them up. It was one of the most incredible finds in archaeological history. But all the writing on Gnosticism prior to that was like they didn't really know anything, and a lot of it was hostile. Even Crowley didn't really know anything about Gnosticism. So what Gordon and Miguel pointed out is that, and James Lindsay apparently says this, is that he is drawing on those old 19th century sources. So right out the gate, so you're just going to ignore when we actually found the primary documents that say what Gnosticism is. Okay. And it's like, how many Gnostics are there? Like 4? And like half of them are probably on this chat. You know what I mean? Like,
Listen, it's not that serious, guy. Also, favorite comment so far is I like egg on toast.
occultology, what level is this guy's reading comprehension? Well, allegedly he has a math PhD, but
This is evidence that if you have a mathematics PhD, you can still be an idiot.
it's probably from the University of Samoa, like in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, University of American Samoa.
And so the goal of Gnosis is to make sure that one or both of those become corrupted enough or weak enough so that they can operate like a parasite and occupy the position held by one and eventually both. When I say corrupted, I mean made weak. I mean given into the kinds of temptations and corruptions that all hierarchies, all organizations, all institutions are susceptible to. But also this idea that they become subverted from within, that their very core values, their very core ideas get turned against them and transformed into something that they aren't. And I use the word transform there deliberately because it's the word we hear in all of this literature,
fully
all the
targeted.
way back
The
and
thing
all the
is,
way
people-
forward to this very day with the
We're gonna try
17th
to not
sustained.
make comments the entire time, guys.
Well, I
but
think
it's
people
so
are here for the
hard.
comments, not James Lindsay.
Okay, it's hard.
Or they could just watch this video on their own.
Yeah,
you know?
watch the video on its own. I promise you, I mean, if you actually study Gnosticism, it's really hard to watch because you're going to want to argue with him the entire time. Yeah, math doesn't make you a good reader. You know, on Twitter, I've seen plenty of people suggest that if you are bad at math, then you are inherently bad at logic. But I think this proves
Yeah.
that that's not true. And not only that, there's a few ways that we could read this or frame this, or plenty of ways actually, but like either he knows what he's doing or he's really this stupid.
Hard to say.
We
I mean,
don't
that's
know.
hard to say about a lot of grifters on the right. It really is. Unbelievable.
Development Goals to, and on their website, and I quote, transform our world, transformative SEL. It's everywhere. That's social emotional learning in your schools. So corrupted, I mean, Athens was
Wait, what? Wait, I did not understand what the fuck he was talking about.
I was actually laughing at a cultology's comment. We're allowed to interrupt him.
Philip says, "Why does James Lindsay look like he's about to break down and start screaming?" Yeah, he's got like a real Cenk Uygur vibe. You know, the host of the Young Turks, who has recently gone full Nazi, and along with his co-host, and yeah, the artist Bosch Fostin, whose lovely art I've shown on this stream a few times. Tweeted out he called Cenk Uygur a walking heart attack, and then sent out a poll: who's more likely to die of a heart attack on air first, Alex Jones or Cenk Uygur? It was like 83% for Cenk. Cenk. But we got this guy in the running for world's newest, biggest douchebag, so let's have at it.
sip of
corrupted.
your
We can't
water.
hold Athens up like it's this pinnacle of reason. Could talk a lot about Plato. We talk a lot about exegesis and authorial intentions.
not, 'cause you
It could
don't
be
know
a
anything
worthwhile
about that.
project for us to start trying to dig through, say, the Timaeus and find out what Plato was really referring to.
Which you've never
Oh,
done.
watch. He's going to dunk on
According to
Plato
Herbert
now.
Marcuse, if we take
Plato was a
our
Marxist.
hints
He's
from
gonna-
him
Watch your-
in his 1955 book, Eros and Civilization, I think the exact phrase he
Okay,
uses
I
is
gotta
the
say
love
it.
of
Listen, Linda. I have a question for the audience, right? Okay, who are you going to listen to when it comes to a belief system or a religion? Are you going to listen to a dude who clearly hates it and has barely touched the surface and has had zero obviously has never done the practices, doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about? Are we gonna actually believe this guy, or should we listen to people who actually have at least read the text?
To be fair, he's at least read more about Gnosticism than Jordan Peterson had read about Marxism before going on his crusade against it. Since in his debate with Slavoj Zizek, he admitted he had never read the Communist Manifesto. So
Well, the thing that I read on, because I did my research on this dude last night on chat, or no, actually on Grok. He has
Spicy.
admitted that he has only lightly read the Gnostic text.
So why
Like
are
a
you even
superficial
talking
reading.
about it?
A lot of his critics say that basically the issue is the issue that we're pointing out, which is like he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And now, guys, he's about to talk some shit on Plato, and we weren't there, so we actually don't know what is true and what's not. So, and Plato has good work, so fuck this dude.
Yeah.
Boys. Science is also corrupted today. We don't have to look all the way back to the perversions of Athens.
The perversion.
The science, COVID-19 policy, gender-affirming care. We can go on and on and on about the science and how science has been corrupted. So they can become corrupt. Mike talked about a large number of ways that can happen. People can write fake papers. Ask me how I know. And then you can cite those fake papers, and you can build an entire body of fake literature by a number of different means. You can only publish in one direction rather than the other. We talked about that last night. There are lots of ways that science can become corrupted, and it is now. Jerusalem can also become corrupted. Faith isn't immune. Faith has to be done well.
What is corruption, sir?
Heresies have
Can you
arisen
define
again
that?
and again and again and again. And given the context, so I just...
Has he even come out with his thesis yet? We're 7 minutes and we're almost 8 minutes in. Has he said what he's going to try and say in the talk?
This man
He's
does.
just hopping
This
around
is
things.
another. I don't know if this is a rhetorical trick or an NLP trick, but he
It's a boredom trick.
He say much word to confuse people.
I think that's an insecurity thing. He gives me a really insecure vibe.
Yeah, like his mom did not hug him.
Or whatever, like he's got to prove something.
Note that we're not going to put St. Augustine on a pillar here. That's not about to happen. That's a complicated topic for another day.
That you know
but when
nothing
he
about.
wrote Confessions, he documented something like
One of my favorite books.
83 or 82 or 81 or something like that, heresies in Christianity up to that day. There have been Jewish heresies, and a lot of them are mysticism. Moses goes up on the mountain, comes down with the tablets, they have a golden idol. Already. It's like,
dude's an
hey, let's just
agnostic,
screw
too.
up.
That was the whole. Wait, what the fuck?
This is like
The whole point of that story was to get rid of it, that they reformed. The whole point of that story, it's kind of like when people bring up Abraham. It's like, what kind of evil God would command someone to sacrifice their son? He didn't. And also the point of the Abraham story is not that God is just fucking with people randomly. It's a symbolic and presumably legalistic document saying that animal sacrifice, or excuse me, human sacrifice is no longer permissible.
Can I comment on
Yeah.
some of the comments on here? Some of my favorite comments that I've seen on here so far is his inner thighs are trembling. That is really funny. And he is a heresy against sexiness. Yes. Stop it, Lindsay. Also, I resent the fact that Jason shares initials with this guy, and
Hey,
I think
goddamn, I didn't realize that.
he needs to change his initials now.
Yeah, he definitely is like a fifth-rate echo of an echo of an echo of Liv Schreiber, the actor. If you
Hey,
look
where'd our
closely.
boss go? He's talking to God. What do you want to do? I don't know, the exact wrong thing? How about that?
What?
He's not here. Let's go. And so Gnosticism has actually crept in quite explicitly. When we talk about capital G Gnosticism in a Christian context, we are actually talking about the Gnostic heresies. We're very specifically talking about especially the Valentinian heresies that were overthrown by Irenaeus.
No, that was later.
So those can become corrupted.
That's
there
not
can be
even
bad
barely the
interpretations.
Gnosticism.
There can be whack gospels that are not
That was
real.
later.
Introduced. There can be fake religious texts that are completely apocryphal. Mystery and mysticism follow religion around like a ghost or a demon or something. This is always happening. There were Jewish sects of esoteric mysticism traced back at least to the 2nd century BC. We have no reason to believe that they didn't go back further. Humans like to get...
Okay, so let me get this straight. So we have to completely throw out mysticism from religion because it's inherently antithetical to it. So what are we supposed to do instead? Just dryly read the Bible like a textbook and assume that nothing in it is actually real, and assume that since the majority of that book was channeled in mystical experiences by various desert prophets, that's not valid now. The reception of the Ten Commandments is invalid. The crucifixion isn't valid.
I mean-
the resurrection isn't valid. That's some pretty mystic shit.
Well, like, again, this dude was an atheist and now he's an agnostic. So first off, I'm wondering, what is his dog in this fight? Like, why do you even care? And like I said, I'm telling you, it's because when he was a massage therapist, his massages sucked, and the good massage therapists were all spiritual and woo, and he got jealous, and that's what started the spiral. I can't prove this. This is all alleged, but allegedly. But no, he's claiming like the whole mystical experience is basically what informs religion. Like, he's just jealous. He's jealous.
Matt Zell says he's an acolyte of Eric Vogelin. Is that the guy, the anti-Gnostic writer from the 19th century, or is that somebody now? I'm curious.
Mystical. It's just a thing. The problem is that once reason and faith start to get corrupted, they can't keep Alexandria out, because if they're getting into mysticism, especially, they become Alexandria. And so we have the vision or the idea, the image of the Trojan horse. The Gnostic parasite works like a Trojan horse. It comes up and says, hey, this is this great thing. It's like a gift to your society. It's extra knowledge. It's extra wisdom. It's faith beyond faith. It solves the mysteries of your faith. Blah, blah, blah. It puts knowledge where you're supposed to put trust, for example. And the next thing you know, you're a wizard, or in the wizard circle, or being manipulated, or in the 20th century.
Hell
He's
yeah.
caught on to us.
It's that easy.
Willie Todd, nobody wants a math massage. Yeah, if you have, oh my gosh, okay, I'm a massage therapist. So if you've ever had like a massage, the best ones, you want your technician ideally to be licensed so they know what they're physically doing to your body and they can do better work that way. But they need to have some kind of flow and they need to have some kind of essence in them. And you know what? I don't necessarily like the idea of an NPC, but if an NPC ever did exist, this is, I'm sorry, Agent Smith, sir.
Century, probably going to a gas chamber.
What?
Now, something you have to
Out of
know and
context.
appreciate about these secret religions of the West is that they are not new, they are old, and they are well developed. I brought that up last time. You have to pretend, remember, I asked you to pretend that there is another ancient world religion as well developed, roughly, as Judaism or Christianity, that you just haven't
It
heard
is
much
not
about.
nearly as
Because
old
there
as
is. The
Judaism.
reason that you haven't heard much about it is really simple.
What?
They make fun of scholars who go into this. You might as well study
What?
parapsychology. You might as well study ESP.
What the fuck is he talking about? So, like, I have the Gnostic Bible edited by Marvin Meyer, I think his name is, like Elaine Pagels, one of the most famous academics in the world, and probably the most famous academic writer on religion in the last 20, 30 years. So Elaine Pagel, who wrote brilliant work on Gnosticism, is just, that doesn't exist. And if you make fun of it, or if you study it, they make fun of you. Is that what he said?
I also think the thing that he doesn't understand too is like a lot of anthropologists are interpreting this work now and including like the history and stuff with it. So like a lot of Gnostic what is it? Like Gnostic, it means something different to the church than it does to a Gnostic. So yeah, he's retarded.
You might as well study
He's
aliens.
retarded.
Scholars get made fun of in scholarly circles for pointing out
Why do you
that this
care?
stuff, mysticism, has
Man
been a
up and
part
take it.
of the developments
I've been
of the
laughing at my
West,
whole
whether that's
life.
the developments of science.
And I'm doing great.
Alchemy was big in that. Newton, Bacon, they were wizards.
Hell yeah.
They also did good work. Separating wheat from chaff has been the process by which things have been made better
It's so
in these
distorted.
regards.
It's so distorted. And then, like, I don't know how we're like, we've been condensed. We've extended 11 minutes to like 45 minutes already, I think, or 35
We
minutes.
hate this guy.
So this is going to be a long night unless we just pass out before he's done. But
This is all for you guys.
yeah. We only have this one joint also.
Yes, no, we do. This is like, oh my gosh, we should stop because
Okay.
we still
All right,
have.
right. Okay. Okay, that's a good point. Okay.
We're gonna have to start doing breathing exercises
Yeah.
during this.
My take on it. This is basically like the Oscar Wilde quote, where he says, it's like you can insult me, you can insult and criticize me all you want as long as you spell my name right to his critics. And it's like, to this guy, it's like, you can criticize Gnosticism all you want as long as you've actually read the text and done your homework, and that your opinion, if you have a negative opinion about it but it's informed, great, like maybe we can learn something. But this is not that. It's just like he's opening his mouth and SpaghettiOs are falling out.
Man, yeah, no, it's only 11 minutes, guys. It's kind of like, I feel like we're just riding slowly up a roller coaster, and it's just keeps stopping.
Let's let him spin his bullshit for a while.
We're gonna try to do at least 5 minutes of no talking.
Because you'll see probably how much he rambles all over the place.
But before we talk, if you have your water, take a sip.
Same in faith. But this is a well-developed religion, and we're pulling back a big curtain here, and that's what the point of these talks are. But they're very well developed, and their followers are probably, and we heard this from Charlie Kirk yesterday, that George Soros is very effective, gives more money, blah, blah, blah. Why did he say that was the case? Because he believes in his cause more than you do. They are very dedicated. In fact, when you get sucked into a cult, especially this kind of a cult, you become an obsessive typically. There are comments from people who analyze the communists. For instance, Alexander Solzhenitsyn pointed out that you are getting very tired, and you might resonate with that. You might feel that. You're getting very tired. Charlie referred to that yesterday as well. NLP. What Alexander Solzhenitsyn said is, I assure you the communist is not tired. Where Marx said that religion is the opium of the masses, which is a conversation we could have for a different hour, communism works out to be more like the methamphetamine of the people. These religions may be as old as Exodus. I mentioned that book a minute ago. They might be as old as that.
No.
Certainly, though, like I said last night, Plato references them explicitly. I said this at the beginning also today in the Phaedrus. So Plato explicitly is nodding to Egypt, explicitly nodding to the god Thoth, that is Hermes. When we read from the Corpus Hermeticum, as we did last night,
just talking about Egyptian
that's
religion,
written in the voice of the god Thoth. Or it's written in the voice of the mind of God speaking to the god Thoth that elevated him to that status.
Yeah, but that wasn't written in English. In
so
Egypt,
these are
that was written
ancient religions,
later.
Ancient religious traditions that have had thousands or millions of adherents, that have had huge periods in history in which they were extremely popular throughout the 15th through the 19th centuries, throughout Europe, for example. They've spun off secret societies, some of which you've heard of, some of which you haven't. They've done all kinds of things. And we have to grapple with their terminologies and their ideas, because once we do, everything that you're experiencing in the world today that seems so crazy, so offbeat, actually gets simpler. And that's because we have to understand this concept of gnosis. And it's embarrassing to scholars. They've dropped the ball. We can't rely on them. There are some who have written about this and written about it well, but they're few and far between.
I think it was
It's
Mao
not mainstream. You're stupid in scholarly circles if you dare to mention that Marx might have been a mystic instead of an economist.
I
Or
can't.
a social theorist. Hate to burst your bubble.
Okay, fine.
Statements that are the opposite.
It.
It's not even that he's distorting things. He's saying the exact 180-degree opposite of the truth.
Why are you doing this, Lindsay?
Marx was not a mystic in this. Like the whole point. One of the points that Marxism makes is that religion is a trick of the ruling class against the working class to keep them essentially opiated, right? As Mao later said. Like the Marxist view, it's historical materialism, right? Is the name of the theory. Meaning the entire point of Marxism is to analyze human progress purely in economic terms.
So it's literally
Purely
the
as
exact
economics.
opposite of Gnosticism and mysticism, because, like, I'm just saying, like, if you have a mystical experience, you're not going to be tethered to the physical or material plane, because you've had. I'm telling you, he's a jealous, and also, he keeps calling it a cult, and I would love for him to define what do you mean by a cult? Because it's not like when I hear a cult, I'm thinking of a cult leader and being sequestered from society. This is
And telling people to eat only hot dogs.
He uses nuclear language, and that's another rhetorical trick that he's playing. And I think I remember a cultology mentioning something that he's just making claims. Yeah, that's why it feels like we're just going up a roller coaster, because he keeps making claims, and I'm like, at some point he's gonna follow those claims with evidence. But what he's using right now is pathos and rhetoric, so he is just triggering emotion after emotion after emotion, which is, James Lindsay, why are you doing that? Are you doing that intentionally? Why?
But for 150 years, scholars have been wrong about Marx. They've been completely wrong about Marx and his project, what it is and what it means. And by keeping us arguing about social theory, political economy, and so on, economics and whatever, they've kept us in the wizard circle where we can't puncture through and see what Marxism is and stop it. And only 100 million people had to die, and maybe 1 billion have their lives destroyed in the process. Or maybe billions, if we look at China.
What?
It seems too silly,
How is that
too implausible to scholars. They don't believe in magic, so how could anybody so smart as somebody like Hegel have believed in magic?
'Cause he was
I don't know,
smart.
maybe they should read Hegel where he
He
tells
was
them over and
smart.
over again that he believed in magic. Maybe they should read Hegel where he holds up next to Bacon. He says Bacon's pretty good
Everything
on
Hegel
this
with
science
Bacon.
stuff, but he's nothing to Jacob Boehme, who was a wizard, who
Another
Hegel also
wizard.
said was Germany's
Another
greatest
wizard.
philosopher. And I guarantee you I didn't say his last name right.
Yep.
Another
B-O with
Mr.
an
Wizard.
umlaut, H-M-E. If you can pronounce it, you can have a cookie.
You're welcome for advancing society against
So the
all
weakness
wishes
of
the
science
normies.
is already revealed. The weakness of reason or liberalism, if we want, whichever of these things, these are just kind of placeholder words that are kind of in the same category, is revealed here. They take things seriously at its word. They're charitable. When somebody says something, they expect it's always to be treated as good faith instead of bad faith. When the guy on MSNBC runs his mouth, they think that's a good faith argument for whatever he's saying. But it might not be. It might be a spell. So they're weak to it. You can't treat magic that way. You must be discerning. Thus we see the necessity of faith,
This is
which
like
is
a
the
backwards messages
dimension of
in
discernment.
Led Zeppelin records
The
understanding
weakness of faith, though,
magic.
is that it falls prey to what we
Also-
keep hearing from the speakers here today. Emotion, particularly.
Stupid. No.
Creative interpretation. Eisegesis posing as exegesis. Hermeneutical circles, that Schleiermacher stuff Bill talked about this morning. It also has a tendency to think that wizards who sound like they're in the same religion as them, that speak wizardry through Christianese by doubling up the meanings of Christian words,
What?
are brothers.
Wizardry through Christian.
And they're getting had. Oh, we can't call him out. He's a brother. No, he's a wizard. And you don't know.
Another Mr. Wizard.
Because he's speaking a language similar to yours.
Enochian.
That has major consequences that we're going to talk about. Because when they speak a language similar to yours, you can't tell it. But when they speak a language different to yours, it sticks out. But the three domains that have shaped the West are faith, reason, and gnosis.
You're
Gnosis
welcome.
is what's beneath these secret or esoteric religions that have been running the West. And we're going to compare and contrast those domains in this lecture.
Am I? If
So
this is
the
true,
goal
I
will
would
be
be
also to
running
reveal how
civilization.
gnosis is a
And instead,
parasite
I'm
on
just
faith and
yelling
reason.
about it on Twitter.
It mimics them, it pretends to be them,
You know,
it
like-
changes the language so that it uses the language of science, it uses the language of faith, but in reality what
Rachel
it
Maddow
does is
casting
it
lesbian
substitutes
spells.
itself in their place, casts the spell of the wizard circle, and actually casts out the people who could call them out. That's why communists always have to purge the bourgeois sciences. That's why the Nazis had to purge Jewish science.
Because
They
Nazis
had to get
and
rid of it
scientists are the
because
same
it's stuff
thing.
that could have called them out. These are uncomfortable topics, but it's very important to understand.
They're incomprehensible topics that aren't real.
But he understands.
Like we
It's
talked about last night, and I
uncomfortable
won't
'cause of
repeat
you,
it too many
man.
more times, I swear, is it negates the real, creates a simulation or a simulacrum of whatever it's occupying, takes its place, and it plays to faith and reason to mystify what those things mean. And if you actually listen, if you believe in what I call the iron law of woke projection, Marx talks constantly about how everything that sounds religious is a mystification of reality. And he's going to demystify reality with his scientific theory. Demystify. The iron law of woke projection says whatever he says they're not doing, that's what they're doing. So in
Jen
other
was
words,
for-
he's
Jen was
mystifying
forever
reality.
broke.
He's acting as a sorcerer. The goal is to negate reality, like I said, to make room for the counterfeit. The counterfeits are the Gnostic cults. They can look religious. They can look scientific. In the classical sense, religious would be the Gnostic.
The goal is to negate reality, or at least the current reality, to give us enough breathing room to play anime horse waifus on the stream. That's literally the entirety of the evil sorcerer's plan. Like, trying to fit in anime horse waifus. I am going to play that on the stream.
And
it looks
Doki Doki.
hilarious.
Doki Doki is coming.
Cults, the Hermetic cults, the straight up esoteric religions where they got syncretistic throughout the Middle Ages. Turns out Hermetic faith is syncretistic by
Hermetic
definition.
faith.
It believes that all the faiths, like I mentioned last night, are facets, pieces of one faith. So if it wants to pick a little from this and pick a
That's
little
true.
from that and put them in the witch's pot and stir them together and have a new religion, it can do that. If it wants to take Gnosticism and Hermeticism and hammer them together, call it science and make it shaped like the Christian Trinity, which is exactly what Hegel did, it can do that. It doesn't have any rules. In this present age, since maybe the 1870s, it looks like theosophy, or what we call New Aginess. Hippies. The hippies are the
Goddamn
not
hippies.
that bad part of it. But there are very bad theosophists doing great damage. It can also look modern or scientific. Alchemy is kind of the precursor of that. System der Wissenschaft, that's Hegel's system of science. Marx's Wissenschaftlicher Sozialismus, the scientific socialism, the true scientific study of history. And in today's world, we have Anthony Fauci.
How the fuck do all those things connect?
And the CDC.
And he stops for the
FDA,
mic drop,
and the
like that's
blah,
such
blah,
a
blah, blah,
profound
blah.
point that you just made. Like, what the fuck?
We have studies. I mentioned it last night. We have systemic micism. There are too many mics
There's wait, I think he's actually about to do it. Let's see.
Wait,
making
I wanna
shows
say
about
something.
sharks. That's a scientific study.
Wait, pause it. There you go, the Liv Schreiber face. There's like, let's say that reality is like a bunch of dots, right? And people who are really smart and work hard and study really well can connect the dots correctly enough to live a good life, right? Then you've got people who are, let's say they're super conspiracy theorists and they're connecting all the wrong dots. Like super like out there schizo conspiracy person. Then you've got James Lindsay, who appears to just be walking up to the wall and scribbling all around with a crayon and just like roping words together, and that's the only way he's making an argument. Like he's just generating words that way.
Also, I just want to say, too, like, if I remember correctly, throughout at least the parts of his speech or whatever that he's doing, he drops jokes and none of them land.
He stops like the mic drop is so profound.
It can also be, and this is what Mike Young talked about earlier today, it can also be postmodern and it can be woke, which exploits some of the pieces of the other things that we just talked about, science
the
and faith,
woke.
but it also goes into this realm where nothing can be counted on. Nothing seems real. It gets into language over everything, and that's where magic spells are cast, or mostly with language. Structuralism, post-structuralism are formal names for this. It dives into systemic oppression, systemic thinking. You end up with the idea that gender is a performance from Judith Butler, ripping off from scholars she didn't understand, including Jacques Derrida, that
Is he
Vocal
just
Distance talked about
listing all
earlier.
the things
So,
that right-wing
this
Christians
thing
don't
that I
like
am,
Yeah.
how I
and saying
act,
they're
when I feel
somehow
like I'm
connected. He's
supposed to
just,
present
like,
myself as
listing off
female, I'm
things
doing
that
a
the right doesn't
performance,
like.
I'm faking it. Oh, well, everybody fakes it. It's like that old joke where Sigmund Freud is sitting there saying it's not that I want to have sex with my mother, everybody wants to have sex with their mother. Everybody's pretending their gender. It's all a performance, it's all a show, and therefore
that
it can
have
be
to do with
transformed,
Freud?
it can change. And queer theory and gender critical feminism
Buzzwords
get treated
need
as a
more
kind of
buzzwords.
better
Just-
science
just
that
like reading
understands
a
that
list.
some of this stuff isn't
I say big
to be
word,
understood through
you feel
recalcitrant nature and
feelings.
actual objective
believe
physical
me?
sciences,
You
but
buy
rather
my
through
book?
social constructivism. And queer theory is why all of this stuff with drag queen story hour, the trans phenomenon, destroying children, etc., is going on. Science and religion get negated as descriptors of realities and get replaced with counterfeits. That's the point. Gnostic cults do this in order to fill the
thought
space
he
with
didn't like
themselves,
scientists
just
and they
like
were the same as
viruses
Nazis.
enter into a cell through the receptor sites, get inside and take out the cell's internal machinery and replace it with virus-making machinery. Your cell doesn't make parts to make new liver cells or new epithelial cells or new skin cells. Instead, the cell makes new pieces to assemble new viruses that then the cell eventually dies, bursts out, more viruses go out and infect more cells.
So
And
anyways,
that sounds really, really, really
situationism.
mean to call them that, except that they, very thankfully for me, wrote a paper in 2016 right here at Arizona State University. Two professors, Bram Foz and Michael Karger, wrote a paper in 2016 at ASU titled Women's Studies
Oh, this
as
is
a
at
Virus.
ASU. Okay.
And they explained that the ideal metaphor to describe their program, their teaching method, is a virus.
America's hottest college.
That can infect students, send them into other disciplines and into careers, and infect other institutions by bringing the ideology in like a virus, getting in through different receptor sites. They compare themselves favorably to HIV, Ebola, SARS, and viruses that cause cancer, because cancer represents, in their own words, true transformative change.
Wait, SARS? This all has to do
They
with SARS
characterize
now?
conservatism as an immune system and explain that in this one case among all viral diseases, immune system destruction of the virus is a bad thing. It needs to be allowed to run rampant to transform the body. If you wondered if it's a death cult, if they think that they can bring new hermetic life out of death, that's pretty certain proof. But they've said the goal, cancer is transformative. That word comes up again because the goal of these secret religions is always to transform. Transform what? Transform man, transform society, transform the world, transform nature
Transform me.
into what?
My soul.
The Gnostics'
Me.
vision, what they believe they've seen in the glimpse of the divine intellect,
Me.
Not
the
you.
nous, the mind
Me.
of God, the utopia that they picture there.
If this is
It'll
what
be sustainable and
normality and
inclusive.
purity
So your
look like,
17
I'm-
sustainable
I'm-
development goals,
I'm
we're all
good
going to
without
get adhered to. We're not going to adhere to them. We're going to get adhered to them to transform the world into what Marx said, nature completing itself through man. What
I don't
Hegel
think
said,
that's what
man's
Marx
job
said.
is to complete nature.
That's not what
and
Marx
so by
said.
doing, complete God.
Fuck this.
And so if we say that it works like a
Occultology,
virus,
why?
it's the same to say that it works like a parasite. They're
I'm not
roughly
sure
the
enjoy
same
is the
thing
right
with different
word.
levels of biological sophistication, it turns out. They latch on, they get in, they are not alive on their own account. They don't feed themselves on their own account. They do so by getting their life from something else. It's not a symbiotic relationship. It's wholly to the benefit of the parasite and the cost of the host. They do this by copycatting.
Thank
That's
you
the
for the super
hyper-reality we keep talking about. That's the simulacrum, the simulacrity, mere simulacrity instead of Christianity. They do that with this idea that I mentioned over and over again last night. We do the same thing you do, but we do it deeper and morally better.
We do.
Still don't know
We're
what his
better than
argument
you.
is.
The thing you think you understand,
hasn't
you only
made one.
kind of understand it. See, Anthony Fauci is the science. You think you did a scientific study and found that masks do or don't work, whichever one he didn't say on CNN the other day? Next thing you know, he says he's the science. You don't have a clear, deep understanding of the science like he does, and so whatever he said now is true.
It's
Well,
like,
I don't.
And we're just using masks to be a bit silly or glib.
It's like he's reading off a Wikipedia entry about issues that conservatives worry about, and then just like weaving them together in between like badly done hypnotic cues, and that's basically the whole speech.
And I want to say something too.
And another thing.
So, no, I don't know as much as a scientist. I'm not going to assume that I do. In the same way as, like, just saying, you don't, like, how do I describe this? I'm bringing it back to massage therapy. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I went to school for that. I know more things about the body than your average person, I promise you. And that's helpful, right? What you're going to receive from me versus somebody who literally doesn't know anything about the body is going to be palpably different, and also mechanically different too. You're going to literally feel different, okay? So when it comes to trusting the experts, you don't have to trust one expert. You can go and get second, third, 10 opinions from different experts, but be a little bit humble and just be like, yeah, you know, I don't know shit about science. That's not what I focus my time on. Depending on what you are and what you're into, you're probably really good and focused on something else, but you're not an expert in everything. And that's the point, James. That you should trust authority just a little bit. You don't have to trust one person. But
Well, it's like if the whole trust the science thing, it's like, okay, like that's if you are, like if you are just fully accepting what people are telling you. It's like, well, if you trust the science, you're gonna read all the different studies and like look around and do your own research. So, anyways,
yeah, trust the science means do your own research. Literally, go to 10 different schools of or thought or ideas or anything like that, and you'll come to your own conclusion.
yeah, this guy should walk out into the Sonoran Desert and do some peyote.
Yeah.
It can be anything. You don't understand how
it would
glaciers
break
work
him.
because you didn't take into account indigenous
Literally.
knowledges. You didn't take into account feminist art that's in the feminist glacier paper. No kidding. The game is what we heard from basically everybody. Dialectical inversion is the name I give to it. Everything that's happening.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I guarantee you this. James Lindsay's sense of self is as fragmented and incoherent as this speech. Like, the parts of James Lindsay do not connect in his head.
Also, another thing too, he said a dialectical something or whatever. Like how he was basically implying that whatever Gnostics do, it's in reaction to Christianity, and the intention is to flip it and whatever.
It is Christianity.
But I would argue that we should look at the first 100 years of Christianity and the 100 years that were before Christianity, because it could be potentially that it is the church who is flipping things on its head. But we don't know for sure. I'm just saying, like, when you read history, it tells a different story.
Yeah.
So who's really flipping things on their head?
Dr. Fauci, he's behind all of it.
Happening is all the same. It's all politics by different means. That's what Mike talked about earlier, right? At the end of the day, it's all warring tribes. It's all politics. It's all one person doing politics by one means and calling it knowledge, and some other group doing politics by their means and calling the output knowledge because it benefits them. And so if it's all politics, here's all the reasons yours are bad, and now we get to have our go. They use terms like ways of knowing. So science does ways of knowing, but we have other ways of knowing. And hegemonic science wants to exclude other ways of knowing because they want to keep themselves in the positions of scientists. They want to be able to write their papers, get their grants, use that to justify writing more papers and getting more grants. Everything.
Elias, yes, I agree with you. That's why I said knowing the first 100 years before Christianity is very important.
So for
It's
people
political,
watching-
so your politics, my
Right,
politics
pause it.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, for people watching on the playback, the comment was Gnosticism predates Christianity.
Yeah.
Nothing is neutral. I just saw that on Twitter from a former conservative. There is no neutrality. There is no neutral position. Everybody is biased. To which I replied, your mom is biased. Which, if he accepts his claim, is true.
What?
And it does this
Nobody
by
laughs.
co-opting the terminology and
Nobody
creeping
laughs.
in,
What
and
the
also
fuck?
inventing new big word-sounding terms like
Jason.
transdisciplinarity.
At him, though.
That sound
Not
really
with him,
smart
at
and
him.
scientifical, but they're only scientifical and not scientific. It steals words like love thy
Oh,
neighbor
this is
and
Hal
faith.
Lindsay's son?
It steals words.
Oh, fuck a plot twist.
Who is that?
Hal Lindsay, I have his book in the other room. Hal Lindsay was this crazy evangelical who wrote a book called The Late Great Planet Earth, which was huge in the 70s. It was like this red paperback. And it was all about the coming Antichrist and the United Nations and New World Order. And like he was the beginning of all that crazy Left Behind shit. Like the evangelicals taking like everything in the Middle East as literal prophecy, and Russia, Gog Magog's going to get involved in Syria and all that shit. So yeah, he was a very financially successful total kook in the 70s. I assume so because he sold so many copies. He sold like millions and millions and millions of that book. So I guess the son is trying to carry on the grift somehow.
Wow.
Transforms what they mean. Diversity,
That's a plot twist.
inclusion, social emotional learning, how anodyne it sounds. It's completely anesthetic, but good. Social emotional learning is like Bactine. You spray it on your arm, it feels better.
Is extremely biased.
Must be good. And that's how it works like a parasite or a virus. A parasite, you don't feel it. I'm from the South. I've had a tick or two bite me in my life. You don't feel the tick.
I have all
crawl up your leg.
kinds
It's
of
kind
parasites
amazing.
right now, and I
You
can't
rarely
feel
feel the mosquito land on you. You sometimes get
I
bit by
had
the
this one
mosquito and never
tapeworm.
feel the bite.
Tell the tapeworm story,
And sometimes
James.
it bites you and you're like, oh yeah? And you get it. But the ideal parasite, you would never feel it. You would never know that it was there. And the
Oh, it's
tick
a
might be
joke.
on you
Okay.
for long
He's
enough to
not
give you Lyme
Lindsay's
disease,
son.
which takes about 24 hours or so, if I
Chat's
understand
trolling.
right, without you ever knowing it's there. Because they have all kinds of means to hide themselves. Because if you figured out you had a parasite on you, you'd get rid of it. And that's very, very important.
Actually,
And the
this is not true. If you watch Stargate SG-1, if you get the Goa'uld parasite, you can live long and prosper and be very healthy and overpower everybody. So.
They use the same plot point in Deep Space Nine with Dax. Yeah. Okay, so he's not. The chat is trolling us because we're high, and somebody. I was stoned enough that somebody convinced me he was Hal Lindsay's son, but he's not. Wah wah.
So
Okay.
let's take a. Can I take like a 2-minute break to get water?
Yeah. Should I keep playing it so we just try to get
Yeah,
ahead?
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna solo run this.
Let me see.
Okay.
The way that it gets in is by seeming undetectable, by saying we're the same as you, but we understand it slightly different. Bill talking about the differences in degrees. They're a square saying, no, I'm a circle that's a different size.
What?
And when you believe that it's a circle,
just
then they
hypno-
stretch
this
to
is just
fill all the
hypnotic
space that you
gibberish.
take up.
This is like, and badly done hypnotic gibberish.
So they take advantage once they creep in of different receptors. Viruses attach to different receptors. We all heard with COVID, oh, the ACE2 receptor, the ACE2 receptor.
I would have
Don't
had
quite
this
know what an
audience
ACE2 receptor
hypnotized
is,
in
but it
under
matters.
5 minutes.
There's a receptor where the
There's
virus
ways to do
attaches,
it.
and then it can inject its DNA or whatever, RNA, depending, into your cell, transform what your cell does into a virus machine. This is where
It's
religion or faith gets weak to mysticism. Somebody starts sounding like they have a much deeper, much more satisfying interpretation of Scripture, something that resonates with you, something that gives you an emotive, affective, or even mystical experience, and you get sucked in. It's not religion, but it kind of looks like religion. The New Age stuff is really going to stick out. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Makes me feel really good. They use scientific and scientistic language where science...
Nick Cave has a riff on that where he says he's religious but not spiritual, which I think is hilarious.
has dominance to creep in under science. They call themselves the science. They call themselves scientific socialism. They call themselves a system of science. All kinds of things. The scientific study of history. It's not science, but it looks like it because it's scientism. When it's in a postmodern domain, it looks like manipulations of language because that's all you have. It looks like language games,
What is it?
advertising,
He still hasn't
marketing,
made his thesis.
propaganda,
What's your
blurring
fucking
of
point,
boundaries
James?
so
What's
that
the fucking
it's very
point?
difficult to tell what one thing is and what one thing isn't.
Yeah, particularly in your head.
Coming back to the faith domain, it latches onto very valuable traits that faith strengthens and encourages, like charity. Caring about people. Well, you're not caring about them enough unless you care about them the way we tell you to.
How do
There's a
Gnostics
correct
tell
way to
you to
love
care
thy neighbor.
about
There's a
people?
correct way to minister to the poor. It's
What?
called socialism.
What?
Jesus was a socialist. Just go read your gospel. You hear these things. It co-opts the idea of love. It co-opts the idea of theological mystery and drags you in. And those are things that often people in religious contexts are seeking, they're craving, or they're satisfied by. This is how parasites pull you in. Let me give you an example using love, because obviously love is a big concept in Christianity. In Hermetic thought, love has a different definition. It's a manifestation, they say, of the source spirit, the highest good, that gets brought in as a parasite trick under the phrase God is love. But they mean something different by love and turns out by God. Because love in the Hermetic tradition refers to the desire to effect self-completion and Gnostic illumination, which is reunion, partial or whole, with the one, with God. They even have a
What's
funny
wrong with
word.
that?
What do you suppose, what was the point of what happened on the cross? Atonement, right? They mispronounced this word in their secret clubs, atonement.
Here it comes.
And they spell it in some of their texts this way. They spell it with two
we even got a
hyphens.
camera change for this one.
AT-ONE-ment, at 1 mint. Atonement at one-ment. Atonement means you come
Yeah.
back at one with the whole. But when they mean the whole, they mean the undifferentiated God and their weird crackpot religion that they have the only path to return to.
No, I
This
don't
has
think
spun
that's the
off
point.
this perversion of love, where love now
Jesus
means
was an
the desire to
entrepreneur,
effect
job
self-completion
creator.
and Gnostic illumination, partial or
I mean,
whole
yeah.
reunion with the one or
you're-
with God.
if- just roll
Has
with
spun
it.
off in recent
Roll
years
with the
into a
right-wing
concept called
crazy all at
critical
once.
love. Of course, there's got to be a critical everything, right? And it should just call it all critical unhappiness and be done with it. It's a little bit hard to find a definition of critical love. I won't lie to you, I spent only about 5 minutes.
At least he's being honest. And by the way, he does, like, when it comes to how he responds to his critics, from what I've learned last night in regards to this topic, he does not respond. So I would love to see this person in a debate with somebody, anybody, anyone.
I can't believe that even Jordan Peterson soft pedaled this guy. It was just like from one professional gobbledygook spouter to another. They were just like they were vibing on each other or something.
It's really upsetting.
But you would think that even at least even Jordan Peterson, you would think would say like what? Like why do you like what is your point?
Yeah, it's why, and Brett Weinstein as well. It's just like, why?
I've read a bunch of stuff about it. It's very difficult in general to find concise definitions for any of these, but I found a website that's literally dedicated to explaining critical love, and it said
Whoa,
it is
we
the
found a
beginning of
website,
equity.
man.
That's a
What?
pretty good definition.
What
I
website
guess.
was it, James?
They say that it means caring about communities.
What website
They
was
say it
this
means
that you
caring about
found?
communities in service,
I found a website
where they
it
get to
said this.
define service,
That's
which
your
is going to be
source?
socialism. But they very specifically indicate that critical love means the love that you have for the collective, not individual or one-to-one love for one other person. Not love for yourself, not love for your spouse, not love for your children, love for the collective above those, at one mint.
Why is that bad?
Isn't that what?
So it's individuals
Literally, even Christians say like the love of God comes first, right? I want on the soundboard like a button I can push that makes it makes the sound of Charlie Kirk going boom,
And also, Jesse Lee Peterson.
and Jesse Lee Peterson
the-
going what the.
What the?
We love Jesse Lee Peterson. He is
He's
hilarious.
so bad. He's bad.
He's like your extremely cranky but lovable right wing grandfather
Yeah.
or
We love
grand
him here.
uncle.
Having communities that love individuals. So you love the community so that the community can love individuals correctly on your behalf. And you end up with a snake eating its own tail again. Individuals that love community, communities that love individuals, that love community, that love individuals, that love community, that love individuals.
That do boys, that do girls.
It's a circle that assumes its beginning and finds its own end. What kind of receptors does it tap into for reason or for liberalism in particular? Philosophical, cultural liberalism. Well, I said it in faith,
I've
it
read a
hits
bunch of
charity, and
stuff.
liberalism hits the
I
other
found a
kind of
website.
charity. Not necessarily the ministering to the poor, but the taking
Cool.
the argument at good faith. Having an open mind. Oh, well, this person said gender is performative. Maybe that's correct. Let's spend years writing thousands of papers investigating it because it couldn't possibly be wholly wrong. I wouldn't be open-minded.
Well,
It takes advantage of curiosity to find out more. Well, this is a hypothesis. Let's explore it. It takes advantage of freedom. The whole 100 Flowers campaign that
Wait,
Mike
I think
talked
I
about
figured it
yesterday.
out. I think I figured out what he's doing. He's literally he just has like a Twitter feed of like crazy right wing Twitter, and he's just reading it off the laptop, and somehow like and that's why none of it strings together. He's just reading tweets.
Very operative example. We're going to let 100 flowers bloom in China. 100 flowers of free speech. Speak up, speak up. Freedom, freedom, freedom.
That was like a tweet from China.
You're gone if you spoke up wrong. What do they do when they get mad because they
Thank you,
lost their
Alex.
beat people
I
up stick
cannot
on
see.
Twitter?
No, that's exactly what it is.
What did they do? They started to be abusive to everybody on Twitter, and when people said you're being abusive to me, they said it's my free speech.
So
Are you
he's on
against free
Twitter.
speech now? They try to use your values against you. This is what Elon Musk calls free speech. They beat him that way, and then they beat everybody else by using harassment and abuse and calling that free speech and using that to justify it. Don't you care about free speech? Oh, you care about debate. You care about this. You care about that. And they hold you to your standard while they don't hold themselves to the same standard. We could talk about Saul Alinsky and his rules for radicals here, where he says, hold the enemy to his standard.
Dude, what is Saul Alinsky?
We could also talk about what we said from Eric Fogelin last night, where he said the idea is that you construct second reality so that it looks like it's accomplishing the thing in the first reality, while
he's the first
evading
Neuralink.
accountability in first reality.
This is actually a test for Neuralink. He's the first Neuralink patient, and he's just getting tweets beamed straight into his head from Elon, and that's what he's reading. That's what we're... I mean, they did say they were testing Neuralink on pigs, so there you go.
They use your values against you, including your freedom. They can peaceably assemble, but all of a sudden when you do, it's not peaceable anymore. They demand that you take their ideas seriously.
Is the claim that he's trying to make that, like, all of these, like, is he trying to make the claim that everybody on the left is a Gnostic? Or, like, unknowingly?
Yeah, I guess so,
I think he's trying to, I think he's trying to equal sign that.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm just going to let you know, no.
So that's why they can't stand to be mocked. They can't stand satire. They have to throw the Babylon Bee off of the internet,
I love satire.
which turned out to be a really
Babylon
bad
Bee is
strategic
roped
move
into
for
this?
them because Mr. Musk was a fan.
What?
I'm thinking that guy had a bad day. The Babylon Bee made that joke before I did. They play Mott and Bailey games with you one way or another, as they're called, to credit Nicholas Shackle for the idea that he coined. They tell you, no, you're going to have more diversity. Diversity is great. Put it in the policy. Everybody thinks, well, I know what diversity means. It's wonderful. Then that definition shrinks once it's a policy, and it means that you hire people we say you hire. At
Now he's
first,
on
diversity
DEI.
at one point
Okay.
in history
Can we bring
means
it back
people
to
that are different from one
Gnosticism?
another.
Sure.
Next thing you know, you find
Gnosticism
out
is
that
DEI
only racial
now.
minorities count as diversity. So white people no longer count in a diverse cast. Something
Oh,
that's
now it's white
100%
genocide.
black is 100% diverse. They said that,
Now
even
he's
though
just
it's
being
technically
racist.
0% diverse in the way that you thought the word meant 10 minutes ago.
I-
And then the
this
next
guy was a
step is
horrible massage
Larry Elder's
therapist,
not
you can
black
tell.
because
You can
he's the
tell.
black face of white supremacy because he has the wrong idea. So only black people who speak the proper critical language of blackness count. And it shrinks further until it's just their commissars getting in positions. That's a Mott and Bailey game, actually. They've shifted the definition. They do it the other way. You call
This could be like an elaborate Andy Kaufman style routine. It's true.
them out on something, and suddenly they say, we just want to teach kids honest history. We just want to teach kids social and emotional skills. It's just some very nice thing. And they thereby force you into their wizard circle or their frame or into their terminology. And the liberals get sucked into this like fools.
I think he means triangle.
Because they
but
can't
he
possibly
doesn't know what he's talking
understand
about.
or just go for the fact, using discernment, that what's happening is that they're being played in a game of three-card Monty where the words are the cards that are moving around on the table to rip you off,
That
or
is
the
what he
cups
is
or whatever
doing,
they
yes.
use. They demand you treat their ideas charitably.
I'm
They
telling
do
you.
not treat your ideas
It's 100% tweets.
at all.
That
Forget
is what it
charitable.
is.
Everything you ever thought,
start reading
did,
Trump tweets.
said, is interpreted in the worst possible light to the point where they accuse you of being something like a sex trafficker. Just absolutely absurd. And then you have to give them every benefit of the doubt. And of course, they give each other every benefit of the doubt while giving you none. They also
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, yeah, occultology said Cracker Barrel. I'm just thinking, like, yeah, he just starts, like, reading out tweets about people being, like, wigging out about Cracker Barrel. And then he starts, like, shilling meme coins.
I bet you know what? This was, I think, made like 2 years ago. So I wonder what was relevant at the time as far as tweets go, and if he's like referring to. This is all
Maybe.
tweets, 100%. That's clearly what this is.
demand you give their ideas respect, which is why if you mock their ideas, you make fun of their ideas, they flip out. I call that the iron law of woke overreaction. But to respect their ideas means to let them keep talking and keep casting their spell and keep putting the wizard circle out there to draw more people in, even if they can't get you.
Yes.
So reality gets substituted out for Gnostic hyper-reality
Yeah, that'd
because
be awesome.
reality got negated.
What?
If you guys saw the Harry Potter movie, the first one where Voldemort's living on the back of Quirrell's head, that's what it
Harry
looks
Potter.
like. You have the evil character latches on the back of the head like a parasite and is controlling what he's going to do, what he's going to think, telling him what to do. And he can't say no to the dark wizard that's now controlling him. And the purpose is to transform the subject. In that film, as a matter of fact, the goal was to transform Quirrell's body into Voldemort's body if he could just get the stone.
This sounds like listening to a meth head.
So
it literally does.
every time you see that
he
word
might just,
transform,
I'm not even joking. He
train
might just
yourself
be a
to
meth head.
pause and turn on your discernment. It's not
James.
always a bad.
James, I'm going to let you know right now that I was raised Catholic, and discernment is absolutely an attribute that I try to grow and use daily. So, I'm discerning that you are full of shit,
Word.
sir.
That's what makes it work. But it's very frequently a bad word, and you have to start to learn to see if they're doing alchemy or if they mean it in some more mundane or even a direct Christian kind of context. Because what are they going to transform? They're going to transform you into their image because they are as God, which they believe is the only way because they believe that they are as God.
I do not want you to take my image at all. I might be a wizard, but don't copy my look. It's my unique look. I've worked very hard on this.
To transform you in the world to remerge back to the all. And you do that by obliterating the real, by obliterating distinctions, but first, in the personal sense, by obliterating yourself.
Yep.
In the Hermetic
can't believe
religion,
people
which we
haven't
haven't
walked
talked
out
about
by
a
now.
ton yet, the goal is actually to obliterate your sense of individuality and selfhood, to raise yourself to the highest spiritual level that human beings can attain, which is called self-begotten. At that point, at the very end of that point, you get to merge back into oneness,
Yes.
into the undifferentiated whole. Hegel talks about this. There's a scholar, H.S. Harris, that commented on this, quoted in Glenn Alexander McGee's book, and he says, in Hegel's view, we have to annihilate our own selfhood in order to enter the sphere where philosophy herself speaks. In order to understand what Hegel calls philosophy, you have to destroy yourself completely. That makes you the philosopher, or a philosopher king, somebody worthy of rule because you have the true wisdom. Or as Hegel himself described it in Science of Logic, I think, maybe I've got that backwards,
Yeah, I think
a
you do.
mystai, a mystic. Marx describes this a little bit differently. Of course, he goes full blast materialist. Everybody knows that. That's how it's evaded being classified as a religion all this time. No, it's material. It's materialist. He's not only materialist, he went materialist like Feuerbach went materialist, but then he said, nope, Feuerbach didn't even go far enough. We're going to go double materialist. So he's super material, so it can't possibly be spiritual, right? But how does he describe communism? I read it last night. As the positive transcendence of private property.
We're going to dual wield
And private property is human self-estrangement. So what you're transcending is this estrangement of yourself by having private property. But what is private property? And this is going to be big in what we talk about tonight. What does private property actually indicate for Marx? Individuality. You're an individual who can own things. And he says that it's you being an individual, separate from your species. That's the problem, and that's what's caught up in private property. And he says that the point of transcending private property is to return to what man really is, which is a species being, a being that lives for his entire species. A communalist or a communist, which he called the riddle of history solved that knows itself to be the solution.
What?
So we see this idea that we're going to use transformation through this parasitic invasion. You're going to transform the cell into something that makes viruses. You're going to transform
he's confusing the planes, basically. Because like what he's trying to connect is the mystical experience to the physical experience. And I think like in the mystical state, like there's everything and no thing and all things are one thing and blah 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 blah. But then because he's stupid, what he doesn't realize is that we're physically incarnated also here. So the rules are different here, James.
science into something that produces fake science or scientism to propagandize for the fake religion. You're going to transform faith into something that just reaffirms the cult leader over and over and over again, to transform in some grander vision into what the mystic or the wizard thinks represents the all. The difference between what we normally think of as a cult and these huge religion-type cults is that the goal of these is to get everybody involved. Or
That is
on the
the
other hand,
opposite of
basically one
Gnosticism.
person. A typical cult that we think of, oh, that's a cult. You got one guy who's basically trying to get with all your wives and daughters and get all your money.
That man, James Lindsay.
But it's the same process. And the reason that they're going to transform the world into what they want it to be is because they're Gnostic, and they know it. They believe they know, with a G, and you don't. They know,
You could.
and you don't.
You
and
could
that's the
know.
dividing line. That's the dividing line for all of their abuses. So many things follow from that. Why do they act the way they do with your kids in schools?
There's a hilarious Luke Haynes song called "Satan Wants Me," which where he names drops all these like Kenneth Anger and people like that. And it's the chorus of the like basically the song is about somebody being really pretentious and high and mighty for being a Satanist and a cultist, and the chorus is "Satan wants me, not you."
Well, because you're a parent. You're not an expert. You're not a teacher. You never went to college and got a teaching certificate. They're better parents than you. They know how to raise kids and you don't. Why do they dictate your diet to you and tell you you have to eat bugs?
The Gnostics like were literally anti-natalist,
Oh.
and so were the Cathars later on.
And also, by the way, like he was just saying, they're trying to dictate your diet to you. Who's doing that?
The hot dog cult. Love lives here, or whatever it's called.
Then you can't eat meat.
Okay, by the way, all right. God damn it. I just figured it out. I'm probably like the last on the stream to figure this out, but I'm going to enable my cursor so I can show you. His logo is literally the demiurge. It's literally the demiurge. I finally saw it. So you've got, because people were saying it's a lion. I'm like, what? So I finally saw the lion head. There's my cursor. There's the lion head, and it's the lion serpent. It's the Aldabaoth.
Agent Smith.
And I don't know what sovereign nations means. It's gibberish, but there you have it. He literally has the logo of the demiurge. It's the same one I have on my ring. He literally has the logo of the demiurge behind him. That is hilarious.
He's choosing to not transform or have a spiritual experience. He's decided that it's not real, so it's not going to be real for him.
I would say he's Go ahead.
And then he assumes that anybody who has had that experience is using it to obtain power of some sort, but that's the opposite. I mean, I think that people that flaunt it in your face and try to use it over you, I think those people probably haven't had that experience, actually, but maybe. Yeah, he's making a lot of assumptions and a lot of claims, and he's just saying a lot of words, and he hasn't proven anything. I'm telling you, straight up pathos is what he's engaging with.
This also gives me the vibe of, it's like when you have like a performer in a senior citizen's home who has a captive audience who can't escape, and so they have to be there. And it's like a really bad stand-up comedian or somebody who can't play a guitar, but there is a senior citizen center, so they have them trapped there. It kind of has that vibe to it. Yep, I am Hezekiah.
You can't eat this and you can't eat that because they're better eaters than you. They know how to eat right and you don't. You might go to hate chicken Chick-fil-A.
How dare he?
Why are they better managers than you that have to be in charge of everything? Because they know how to manage, because they know the goal, and you don't.
The comment.
Why are they better stewards than you? Why do they treat themselves as better stewards? Because they believe they're better stewards than you. Stewards of the environment, stewards of public health. Public health officials said we all have to do some stupid thing that ruins all of our liberty. Public health officials said, give us all your freedom and we'll let you go. Totally real. Public health officials said, well, we're going to have to start experimenting with environmental lockdowns, climate change lockdowns, zones that you can't travel outside of too many days in Oxford, already happening. They're better stewards of the environment. They're better stewards of humanity.
I was just about to say, I remembered what I was going to say earlier. Some people need to be told what to do. And I'm not even kidding. Like, some people need to be told, like, hey, your diet is crazy and it's going to kill you. That's what I was going to say earlier.
Yeah.
Than you, because they know and you don't. They're experts and you're not. They get to classify themselves as expert stakeholders. Patrick earlier said, were you guys surveyed? They got Patrick Wood, he asked, were you surveyed about the grand sweeping vision that Klaus Schwab has at the World Economic Forum? No. Who did they ask? Stakeholders. You're the stakeholder, but they didn't ask you. It's your life. You hold the stake. That's a fake word, y'all. That's a magic spell. Who'd they ask? Expert stakeholders. They have a council of them. And I urge you to remember that the Russian word for council is Soviet.
Mic drop.
Why? Because they know better than you. In the preface to Encyclopedia Logic, which I quoted from last night and just referenced, Hegel explains this. Certain things he says, such as truth, to put it in the context, he doesn't say it directly there. It's kind of, I'm going to quote him, but it's a big paragraph explaining what he's talking about. Certain things, including truth, have two names, he's explaining. And the quote is, one in the language of gods and the other on the tongues of us men. So he sounds all humble because he's a wizard and a parasite, pretending he's a man when he's already told you he's a philosopher.
What?
They believe they know God's definitions and language for things, and you don't. So they play language games. They know what diversity really means. You don't. So they have to control what diversity means in the policy. That's how it works. They know what sustainability means. It means sustainability of their regime. And you don't, so you're tricked.
A bit in his ramblings.
Even he doesn't know where he
He's
is
confused
now.
now.
Yeah, even
Their
he's lost.
superiority, their pretense to expertise.
Where am I?
This became about the culture
All of
war
it follows
and not
from this
Gnosticism.
belief that they understand and you don't, because they're Gnostics. They are initiates into the initiate society, and you are not. They know what
I've never
words
been invited
and
to
thus
the initiate
the
society.
word
Hey guys, can
The
y'all tell me
logos.
which Gnostic club are you a part of?
The Initiate Society.
really mean and you don't. Like I said, they're in the initiate
This guy
society.
eats steak
And if
like
it's
a
about
taco?
language, when we get to this postmodern era especially, and transforming the meanings of words, and there is no objective thing to grab onto because they've dissolved that. They've turned it liquid, in the words of another philosopher that is a bit cracked, Zygmunt Bauman, calls it liquid modernity instead of postmodernity.
Cool.
Since you have nothing to grab onto, they can
That's a
control
cool
you,
term.
and they create, when it's just about this language, this linguistic fluid, oh, gender means this, no, it means something else tomorrow, no, it means something else the next week. When it's all fluid like that, they create the people who know and the people who don't know. In other words, they create decentralized initiate societies, and if you know the words, you're in, and if you don't know the words, you're not.
That's how it
in.
works.
If you know
That's
the
how it
words,
works.
then you know the words' meanings
Deal
in
with
the
it.
correct mind of God sense, not on us tongues of men.
So
And
this would be a person who would not do well, like in a fraternity or anything where there are levels, because then he's going to be upset that it's a measure against his ego, basically.
Well, that's good for him because he won't be joining J.D. Vance's fraternity that I commented on in yesterday's video.
Just imagine if this dude just decided to do ayahuasca. Just imagine.
He'd
You
break.
deserve
It
to-
would break him because he would realize that he's completely empty, and he's the type of person that that would break that type of person. Like, you know, it's like for most people, it's like you realize that everything is emptiness, and it's like, great, cool, okay, so nothing, cool, but yeah, that would break him because he would realize that he is an inherently vacuous being.
James, and we're going to be honest with you, we are pretty, cool people. We don't like to hate people randomly. Like, you have to give us a reason to go at you this hard, because for the most part, we are open to being wrong. We're open to hearing different perspectives. But so far, sir, you just keep talking. It's you know what? I think Jason's right. This is all of your tweets from the past couple of years, and this is a captive audience.
Rule. And if you don't, you don't. There are no conspiracies needed. They're there. They're extra. You can do it in a completely decentralized way. You can create cult initiate societies just by transforming the way people understand words and symbols that they interact with, and then force other people through social interactions, or coerce, I should say, or exhort other people to follow those same meanings until they become hegemonic and dominant.
How much more of there is this?
The thing is the initiates, when they hear the word diversity, what they know is
Oh my
that
God,
means
it's not
people
even
that we approve
halfway.
of. and not people we don't approve of. It means people who know, not people who don't know that what it means is something different than what it seems like
At
it
some
means.
point, he's gonna.
They
he's
also
gonna come
know
in with all of this
implicitly
evidence.
who to support and who not
might
to
take, like,
support.
a 15-minute
People,
nap
all
in the
that
middle of this.
buzzword, boilerplate jibber jabber that came out of every institution, every
That's a
corporation, every
great way to-
university,
boilerplate
right after
jibber
George
jabber.
Floyd
That's
died.
That's a great
was a
description
signal.
of what he's doing.
It was the it was the
Boilerplate
blood of the
jibber
lamb put
jabber.
across the top of the door. It
What?
was a signal.
What?
Support us. Anybody who doesn't do it, send Antifa to burn down their
Oh,
building.
now he's on Antifa. Okay.
They support each other, the people who talk like them, who use the words in the weird ways like them. This is why Kamala Harris gets up, sounds like she doesn't know how to speak English repeatedly, and says stuff like, we're going to do things together
you're
so we
down,
can
you
come
become
together
where
to
it's
do
at,
things
and
together,
once you've
because
achieved where
together
it's
we're going to
at,
do
you are
things that are
cool.
together. It's because
Yeah,
she has to just keep
basically.
saying the word together because it's a signal that's like, don't wreck me.
What?
I'm on your club.
This is schizophrenia. Like this
This is why we have to understand these three domains: faith, reason, and gnosis. And again, these are broad strokes.
You
These are
don't
dispositions
understand
toward
them.
knowledge. I'm not going to take. We
You
don't have to take them
don't.
too literally. We shouldn't take them too strictly
understand
literally.
them.
These are big fuzzy concepts. Each one deserves a semester's
concepts.
philosophy course or more. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're just using these as kind of placeholders for three dispositions toward knowing. And so let's start by talking about faith, and I'm going to compare it against gnosis, then we'll do reason and compare it against gnosis, and we'll just
great.
talk about
That sounds
gnosis
like
a
a
little
really
bit.
exciting
What's
schedule.
faith? Well,
we get a
your
lunch
Bible
break in the
tells you,
middle?
go to Hebrews 11:1. I guess if I was Trump, I would say go to Hebrews 1:1:1 or something like that.
What? Well, they laughed at that? What?
Now, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And that's an interesting, by the way, Hebrews 11 is an interesting chapter. It uses the word faith over and over and over and over. It does not use synonyms. It does not say faith this time and to make it more readable, something else another time, and to make it more readable,
Yeah,
something else
it's like
another
getting
time. Then they
cornered
circle
at a
back and use
party
faith
by a
again.
meth head.
It says faith, 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 something like 34 times. Over and over, same word. And it says it's the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. It is being very clear on giving you instruction in what faith looks like and what it does not look like. But what you hear when you hear that it's in this first verse, when you hear that it is confidence in what we hope for, it's inherently humble. That is key. Faith is inherently humble in its disposition toward its claims of knowing.
What?
It's confidence. It's not certainty. It doesn't say now faith is being certain in what we hope for.
Okay,
That's-
somebody said on the chat earlier that what he's saying is like first year philosophy or something. No, it's not. No, it's not. He wouldn't have been able to get away with any of this horse shit in any philosophy course, especially epistemology. I'm just
I
Foolish.
have a question for the chat. Am I just like literally? This is a literal question. Am I just high, or is it that like any given section of this speech, it's like basically we've already heard the speech, we've already heard all the content, because whatever the fuck he's gonna say is gonna be the same fucking nonsense that he's been saying so far. Or am I just high? Please let me know.
There's all kinds of
give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
admonitions in the Bible against that kind of thinking. It inherently confesses hope and trust, but not knowledge. Confidence, assurance. Doesn't say it's what we know to be true because we said it, which is gnosis. It's confidence and trust in something bigger and greater. If you're religious, that's God. And you guys are Christians, you got the whole tradition. I'm not going to get into that. It's yours. I'm not going to step into there and get all messed up here. If you're not religious, all you have to do is have a concept of that
So
which is
that's why
bigger
he's
than
able
all
to
of us,
talk his shit.
because it has in common.
So the reason we're watching this guy is because this guy has 550,000 followers and has been winding people up that Gnostics are the worst people in the world, like crazy fucking evangelicals, and that could have severe consequences, right? Particularly for people like you and I. That's why it's just like this. Like somebody has to counter this. It's just like fuck exhausting.
We
the
will do
crazies.
it, but it is We will do it. But it is hurting our heads.
It's so bad. But like, yeah,
And not in a
550,000.
good way.
Yeah, but Gnostics rule the world. I've got like 8,000 Twitter followers.
I feel like I haven't really learned anything in this talk yet. I know that you can do it, James. Please just give us something.
The same disposition with the religious concept of God. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying it has something in common with it, which is something that I am definitely not. In fact, something that I am far less than and must humble myself before. Humbling yourself before the greatness of creation, whether you believe that's connected to God or that it's just a fact of the universe for whatever reason you don't claim to know, displaces man from the center of creation. God creates, man does not create. That humbles you. This disposition of humility is so important. The point, as I mentioned yesterday when Charlie was on the panel,
Gnostic informants
getting power, if you are faithful, is to serve. What would we call the people we elect to office other than, I was going to say a bad word, servants, public servants. I know, laugh. It's an aspiration.
Please debate this guy on Jubilee.
What is gnosis?
Do you hate
It would be
me?
confidence in what we hope to create in praxis by bringing it into actuality. It's confidence that we can change the world into the thing that we envision, that we know is the destination we're supposed to get to.
I would just be
Which
laughing
is why
at
they're
him
not
the whole
daunted by
time.
failure,
It
because they're
wouldn't
just
even be a
learning more about
debate.
how
I
they're
would
going to
just
get there.
What? I would just like keep
And this
looking
is
at the audience
literally
and
the
just-
concept behind
What
what
are
Marx
you
called the
talking
creative
about?
subject, which is what he said is the first kind of step toward man knowing who he is. He said, in creating a world of objects by his practical activity, in his work upon inorganic nature, man proves himself a conscious species being. That is, a being that treats the species as its own essential being, or that treats itself as a species being. Did that sound like he just kind of said something in a circle? It proves that
The
man
Christian
is a
right
species
really love
being by
him.
proving
He's
he's a
telling them
species
who
being.
to
It's the
hate.
same
Doesn't matter to them if it doesn't make sense. Yeah, because it's just they're like, oh, see, we've done. It's a justification.
They don't
definition
even
Ibram Kendi
understand
gave
what
for
we're talking
racism.
about.
Racism is when racism happens. I love you, Janae.
What?
Just saying.
What? Did you miss that?
Yeah, I did.
But he says by doing your
Okay, I
work,
gotta
you
back
prove
up.
that you're a communist.
Oh, this may be the most
That's what he
replayed
says.
part.
By
He
creating
goes-
himself a conscious species
Okay,
being.
Sorry, guys.
That is, a being that treats the
ridiculous
species
enough
as
to
its
watch
own
again.
essential being, or that treats itself as a species being. Did that sound like he just kind of said something in a circle? It proves that man is a species being by proving that he's a species being. It's the same definition Ibram Kendi gave for racism. Racism is when racism happens. I love you, Janae. Just saying.
That was it.
Why?
But he says by doing your work, you prove
Yes.
that you're a communist.
Clearly.
That's what he says. By creating a world of objects
It's like a
around
radio
himself, he
that's
proves that
getting
he's a
crosstalk.
conscious species being, a conscious communist. That's what he says. If you know what species being means, it's a person who works and lives for the
This guy
species ahead of the
sucks.
individual.
He does.
I hate this guy.
It is
I
just
don't like him.
in his work upon the objective world, Marx tells us, therefore, man really proves himself to be a species being. This production of his active
guy is
species
such
life,
a
this
fucking moron.
production is his active
How do
species
people
life.
listen to him?
Through this production, that's what it means to be human, is to produce for humans. Thus, this production, nature appears as his work and his reality. The object of labor is therefore the objectification of man's species life, for he duplicates himself not only as in consciousness, intellectually, but also actively in reality, and therefore sees himself
Racism
in
is
the
when
world
racism
that he has
happens. I love
created.
you, Jen A. Signed, James Lindsay. Yeah.
Confidence in what we create in praxis by
Jesse
bringing
Lee
it
Pearson
into
is way more
actuality would be the
coherent than this
Gnostic
guy.
statement of faith. That's
Saying
not
something.
faith. It's not humble. It's certainty that they can create the world that they think is supposed to be there, and Marx tells you that's what actually makes you human.
So Christians buy this?
This is inherently arrogant, the Gnostic position.
I hope not
Not
either.
humble.
I hope.
It places man at the center of
Please.
creation. Man sees himself in the world that he has created. You could continue that and says, and knows himself to be who he is, the creator. Marx, like Hegel before him, assigns man the task of completing man in nature. That comes from the Hermetic task assigned to man in a metaphysical sense of completing God himself. God being completely undifferentiated perfection lacks but one thing in the Hermetic cosmogony. The ability to know what he is, because there is no distinction.
We are all dumber having
So he
listened
pours
to this.
himself out into the world, creates a thinking being that can find and resolve the distinctions and come to know who he is. So man's job in the Hermetic faith is to complete God by figuring out who God is, seeing God in his own mind, at which point God will realize in his mind that he is what is in man's mind.
I really want to go on
It's
Jesse Lee
literally
Peterson's show.
We've been really debating.
I keep
on getting him
forgetting
on
that.
there.
I keep forgetting to do that, but like that would be hilarious.
We would have a good time.
That
We
would be
would
so
we wouldn't
funny.
give Jesse a hard time.
People would lose their minds. Like, he's far right. He's on Jesse Lee
But
Peterson's show. But it's just like, no, it would be like Boyd Rice and Bob Larson or something like that.
Also, like, it's like, tell me you don't know how to read auras without telling me you don't know how to read auras. That man is awakened. He is conscious and he is aware.
He's on his own level.
And he's also a troll.
He's
a
on
troll.
he's on a very unique frequency.
Project. Hegel accepted it whole cloth, whole thing. Hegel, Marx, the Hermetic mythos repeat this idea that's to come back to at one-ment with the whole by removing all distinctions, so they create this method called the dialectic to do it. Because distinctions are reality and we have to negate the real. Quoting from Glenn Alexander McGee on this issue, he says that Hegel shows that when the subject transforms objects according to his will, or rages and destroys that which resists his desire. Well, there's communism, folks. There it is, isn't it? Transforms objects according to his will, or rages at and destroys that which resists his desire. It is really being moved by the desire to confront itself. The desire of the subject to annul the other and absolutize itself is just the same thing as to be confronted with the self and no other. In other words, to return to the undifferentiated one, which is God, which is supposedly your true nature. The goal of the Gnostic subjecthood is not to serve, but
Jesse
to
Lee
bend
Peterson is the
the
most based
world to one's
bodhisattva
will,
ever.
to dominate, to control, and to destroy everything
man,
you
he's
can't
got some
control.
interesting opinions
And is
about
that not
things.
He's
what
hilarious.
you
He's
see in its
objectively
We're not
funny.
saying we agree with his opinions
take
on
the
things,
Okay,
by
as
the
a-
way.
faith
Yeah,
a-
just disclaimer. We don't agree with Jesse Lee Peterson about like literally.
Well, as a
But-
female-bodied person, I personally don't like all of his takes.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know what, I think he's sincere, and I also think that he believes what he says.
you-
And also, he is a troll, and I love that he likes to make people angry, because I do too.
Did you see what your nemesis tweeted out today about the girl in Scotland?
So I have decided that a long time ago that Andrew Wilson is my nemesis and that we are enemies.
He is awful. She
He's-
introduced me to him. This guy is horrible.
He's decent.
He knows how to debate, but he's horrible.
He's good at debating, but he also his skill at debating is completely gone when it comes to religion or anything like that, because his logic just disappears.
So you saw, hopefully you saw there was this thing about the girl in Scotland.
Yeah, no, I
in
think-
Glasgow who had like an axe and a knife and was warding somebody off from being indecent with her sister. I can't say things on YouTube.
Yeah, the thing is with Andrew too is on Twitter he is known for rage baiting, like he loves doing that, so he's just an intentionally.
Did you see his tweet?
Yeah, I did. He's an
Yeah.
intentionally.
So
that's-
he tweeted. Wait, should I not repeat it? Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, you can go to his.
Go to his Twitter, you'll see it. It's one of his most inflammatory tweets
ridiculous.
recently, but he likes doing that. And the problem that I have with him is he is very close-minded, and
Driven instruction to judge the tree
the
by
people
its
people are
fruit. Is
listening
that
to.
not what we've seen for a century? Is that not what we see now? And controlling means bringing into line with the wizard's vision of being. What's an example? Critical race theory is going to get racial justice. What's it look like? Nobody knows. They never tell you, but how are we going to get there? They're going to call
Apostate
everything that they
prophet.
don't control
I love
racist until they
apostate
control it.
prophet.
And then they're
And I
going to do
wanted
that
to
again
watch
and
that.
again and again and again until racial justice
Oh,
develops.
that's good. That sounds entertaining.
That's how.
Apostate
Like
Prophet was going to be an Orthodox Christian, but for some reason, out of spite, he is like, now I'm going to be Catholic. And it caused a lot of tension on Twitter. And yeah, it's just,
Mark
you
said,
know, you know.
I feel like
ultimately,
maybe
we
can
don't have
talk
these
over this
distinctions.
now
We're a
because I don't think
species
anyone's
being.
actually listening
We're not
to it.
separated by things like race or from Mark's
As long as you
class.
guys
We
don't
have to
mind.
be a species
You
being,
let
a
us know in the
communist.
chat.
He says, in estranging man from one nature and to himself, his own active functions, his life activity, estranged
It's
labor,
not like
meaning
you're gonna
being
lose the
have
thread
to go
of
to
what
work.
he's saying.
Estranges the
Because there is no
species from
thread.
man. It changes for him the life of the species into a means of individual life. See, the thing that you have to destroy is the individual so you can return to the collective whole. And secondly, it makes individual life in its abstract form the purpose of the life of the species. So people in a collective exist
Agree
so
to
that people can be
quotology.
individuals, is what he's saying, and that's not so good. Because he says, likewise in its abstract and estranged form. So by separating from the whole, believing yourself an individual, you are estranging yourself from who you really are. And your goal, just like in Hermeticism, is to remove the distinctions and get back to what you always were.
Yes.
He says, Mark says that this process of labor reduces man to an animal, but actually even worse than an animal. An animal that's
Wasn't
had
that
even
him
the joys of its
criticizing
life removed
capitalism?
from it.
That was his criticism of
And his
capitalism,
solution
not
is
what he
to
was saying.
abolish private property, which is
He's
the
making the
basis
same
of individualism.
fucking.
And
Well,
also-
this is frustrating. He's making the same fucking. He's doing the same thing with Marx that he did with Gnosticism, where it's like he's taking the thing that Marx was critiquing and then saying that Marx was saying that. Like he's 180-degree flipping things.
He's framing things in a very disingenuous way, which was why it was super...
This is so dumb, and he calls himself an anti-communist. It's like I'll say this, right? I've studied Marxism at university. You know, I've had Marxist professors. I'm not a Marxist. I don't like Marxism. I think I actually think that is anathema to particularly to people like us because they deny the spiritual level of reality. And that's quite tangible. And you look at how Tibet is treated by China, for instance. You know, there are very serious reasons for spiritual people to stay far away from Marxism because when Marxists come to power, they then persecute or kill all the spiritual people because Marxist historical materialism, well, because of a lot of reasons, but, you know, Marxism is a purely economic read of history. However, I will say Marx wasn't stupid, you know? It's like you can critique Marx, but you better read Marx because he's an economist. He was a bad economist, but it's like reading Adam Smith or something like that. You know, and a lot of his arguments are correct. You know, so this, for instance, the theory of alienated labor, you know, that's a great one right there. He was correct about that. So, you know, critique Marxism all you want, but understand what you're talking about. Come on.
That's like, I feel like that's really fair.
Same with
And
Gnosticism.
that's basically, yeah, that's my conclusion with this stupid ass speech is like, yeah, know what you're critiquing or else it's,
This
I'm
is
pretty
incoherent.
sure, tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I'm pretty sure Hegel had the concept of chatter or created the concept of chatter, and that's exactly what this is an example of. He took a very superficial read of whatever text he read, which was very little, and he just saw, I guess, like buzzwords that he made a connection to with what's currently going on, and he understands that he's speaking to a Christian audience that probably has never heard of Gnosticism, and he's taking the language that he's seen in the text and he's completely framing it in a horrible, disingenuous way. And like I said, it's probably because he had a coworker who was a Gnostic and did better than he did at massage therapy.
There was like a new age girl that he had a crush on and she rejected him.
I promise you it's because every massage he gave, he got a complaint and he could never figure out why. I know all the technical things to the body. I guarantee you that's probably who this person is. And yeah, he's just bitter because the other massage therapist was like, I'm all woo and I love people and community. And she probably got booked all the time and he hated that. And now he is campaigning across America.
Yeah, occultology says he's trying to do stage magician tricks with words. The problem with that is that might work for like 3 minutes, but it does not work for 2 hours and 11 minutes. Eventually people just get tired of your bullshit, you know, or they just get bored.
Ooh, and
So ownership.
One last thing about Marx. Marx's dad wrote a letter to Marx talking about how disappointed he was because he was privileged all his life.
Oh man.
And also labor. In other
Let's
words,
hope
Marx's idea is very simple. If you can just, private property being the symbol, if you can just destroy the basis for otherness between people entirely, if you just get rid of it or positively transcend it actually, then you return to the whole. We're only individuals because we believe we can have stuff. So if we get rid of the idea of having stuff, then we're not individuals anymore, or we won't be for long. We'll come back together. Imagine all the people.
Sir, I think like what he's trying to say is the claim here all Gnostics are communists? Is that his claim? That's wild.
And all communists are Marxists.
That's a wild claim.
And Dr. Fauci.
That, guys, I think everybody on this chat is not stupid, but like, that's wild. That's a wild claim to make.
Private property, as we'll talk about shortly, implies individuality, and that is kind of the core of the classical liberal position. But I want to compare, we've heard a little bit of Marx here. I also want to compare how just arrogant this is, not just by talking about Marx and Hegel and asking you to accept that this is a whole, like, hey, James said this is Hermetic, so we have to believe it. And he quoted one guy, so that's probably right. I'm just going to read you from the Corpus Hermeticum on this flavor. This is a little bit long. This book is weird.
Okay.
So this starts out weird, and then it starts to sound religious but weird, and then it gets real bad in a Gnostic way real fast. And this is from book 1 of the Corpus Hermeticum, which I told you last night's in 17 books. I think 14 of them survive, at least in part. This book is the only one with a special name. It's called the Poimandres, which is something you've probably never heard of. The Poimandres identifies himself at the beginning of this book as the voice of God, speaking directly to the god Hermes, or to the demigod Hermes, or Thoth, speaking directly from mind to mind, God's mind to the Poimandres, speaking into Hermes' mind. And Hermes is speaking back to him in the passage, asking him a question, or no, just commenting, on what has already been revealed, where I'm going to break in. Hermes says, "You've taught me these things as well as I wished, O Nos. Now tell me how I can find the way back to oneness, to full reunion with God. Tell me how the way back is found." In other words, in the context of the creation myth that I have not imparted and that's in the Poimandres, how do we undo the fall of man and the segregation from the pleroma, the spiritual fullness of God, the realm of the spiritual fullness of God? And the Poimandres replies to Hermes, allegedly. I have a problem with Hermes existing. He says, first in the disillusion...
That's it. God, that's it. That's too far. He has a problem with Hermes existing. Hermes has a problem with you existing, James Lindsay.
Sir, what did Hermes do to you besides give you like mathematics and cool shit?
Like, what, you're angry at the existence of like a fucking god from a dead culture? Like, what, like, okay.
You must have no problems in your life.
That nobody worships anymore except for like, you know, like autistic people who are into magic. It's like, so... I don't know where he's coming from that. I'm tempted to make his argument for him because I could actually within about 3 minutes make the argument about the connections between socialism and the New Age, which is a problem, and why that is, and going back to the early part of the 20th century and so on and so forth. But I don't want to do it because I feel like this guy is self-centered enough that he might watch this whole video just to see our commentary, and I don't want to give him any ideas.
Of the material body, one gives the body itself up to change. So you have to dissolve the material body to give it up to change. Doesn't that sound familiar to some stuff going on?
Wait.
Is he referring to trannies?
I think he's referring to Obama. He's saying you have to give up your body to change. Like change was you mean like Obama's slogan? So it's like transcending your body is like voting for Obama. I think that's what he's saying.
What?
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Barry.
Becomes unseen, and you surrender to the divine power your habitual character, now inactive. Remember in the four olds where we're supposed to destroy old habits? The body senses return to their own sources. They then become
Just remember,
then they become parts
astral
again and
projecting
rise
is like
for
voting
action,
for Obama.
while the seat of emotions and
Might as
desire
well be
go
voting for
to
Obama if you're
mechanical
trying to
nature.
astral
So you're
project.
separating the spiritual out from the material,
No,
very much like you're
no.
doing, say, separating the gold from the garbage when you do alchemy. Thus, man starts to rise up through the harmony of the cosmos. Doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound great? To the first plane, he surrenders the activity of growth and
Oh, it was about
diminution.
trans, okay.
To the second, the means of evil, trickery now being inactive.
I'm still
To the
gonna say it's
third,
about
covetous
Obama.
deceit. See, it sounds like you're
funnier.
talking about virtues at this point, right? Now inactive. And to the fourth, the eminence pertaining to a ruler, being now without avarice. To the fifth,
I mean, why
impious
not?
daring.
Why not interpret it the way that you want? That's what he's doing.
And reckless audacity. Into the sixth,
What are we
evil
even
impulses
interpreting
for
at this
wealth,
point?
all of these
He's
being
just
now
saying-
inactive.
he's
Into the
just-
seventh
he's
plane,
making
the falsehood.
noises.
This
That's
is
what
I,
he's doing.
I didn't realize
in
you could
ambush.
do worse than Jordan
Then,
Peterson.
stripped of
This
the
makes
activities
me-
of the cosmos, he
Like,
enters
why
the
does he have so
substance of
many
the eighth
followers?
plane,
Lord,
which is the
hello.
self-begotten plane, with his own power, and he sings praises to the Father with those who are present, those who are
Whatever.
near rejoicing at his coming. Being made like to those who are there together, he also hears certain powers which are above the eighth sphere, singing praises to God with sweet voice. Then in due order they ascend to the Father, and they surrender themselves to the powers, and becoming the powers, they are merged in God. This is the end, the supreme good. Remember, we were asking, how do we get the path back to what we were always in the beginning? This is the end, the supreme good, for those who have had the higher knowledge, and I quote directly, to become God. Well then,
The Audacity of Hope by
Poimandres says,
Barack Obama.
why do you delay? Should you
Audacity,
not,
he
having
said.
received
Audacity.
all, become the guide to those who are worthy, so that the human race may be saved by God through you?
And yeah, Willie
You don't just
Todd,
have to
it's
become
not
God,
just
you have to
the
become
ramblings of a
Christ
madman.
too.
The fact that
That's
he has fans.
the
that vote.
explicit command in the Corpus Hermeticum.
Like, I don't even know what the
It's the
argument to rebut
explicit
is because I don't know what the
project
argument
of
is.
the
I don't know
secret
what he's saying.
Hermetic
I'm
religion that's
telling
the
you, I
basis
think
of
the
Marxism.
argument is something along the lines of, I think the claim that I'm distilling from his rambling is Gnosticism equal communism. I swear to God,
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I
that
think
is
that
what
is
his
what
claim
he's
is.
saying, yeah.
And guys, we don't actually need to debunk that because
That's
that is a
incoherent
ludicrous
ramblings.
statement.
I guess we've made his point for him
Hegelian
better
thought,
than he did.
and all kinds of other crazy stuff, including New Age spirituality. Not to sound like some kind of a boomer who's down on that stuff.
What?
Not just you, but the
Boomers love that
human
stuff.
race is to be saved by you. Don't delay. You must become your own Christ to save all of humanity by becoming God. Faith, whatever it is, if you don't like the Hebrews definition, I don't know why any of you would have a problem with it. Somebody out there might. Faith is not that. If I don't know what faith is, maybe I know it's not that.
But I won't
Faith
do
is
that
belief
by
in a
both.
higher God that you are not. It
I
is
would do anything
piety,
for
it is
gnosis,
religion,
but I
it's
won't do
being
that.
God-fearing and thus profoundly humble. So what about the comparison? What is reason and what is that domain and how does it compare? Nature's God, we could call it, as our founding fathers did, kind of giving a kind of cheap stand-in answer because they didn't know what else to say.
What?
We might refer to the actual scientific methodologies.
What?
It seeks truths that it
Just
sees are
what?
provisional, which means it holds them in humility. The problem is that it requires wisdom so that it doesn't get out over its skis as you were. In a sense, what makes man human, if I had to give the answer, and most people throughout history have given this answer when it comes to some kind of oppress, is his capacity to reason, which is definitely distinct from that of all of the other creatures. So if we see that as being in the image of God, but not God, image is not the thing,
Yeah, Jordan
we see that
Peterson
faith
word
is
salads,
grounding
but
reason.
it's
It's keeping its
usually
feet on the
clear what
ground.
his point is that he's trying to make.
But
I
remember
think
that
he's
reason was a
sincere,
key word for
although
Hegel. The
not
wizards need to
at the
occupy
same
that
time.
word.
Depends
In fact, it was his higher level
He's been a little-
understanding
Depends on the
He's
of
been caught up
science.
in producing so much content.
So it becomes a
also.
dual captured term. And in fact, science we talked about was in fact the
does
same thing for Plato, scientia, which referred to having two levels, episteme and dianoia. just like Hegel had it in Vernunft and Verstand, and the critical theorists had it in critical and traditional. Marx had it in socialist and not socialist.
Yeah, I might become a communist. He's making it sound pretty good.
And this is what reason is, though. Reason is the ability to think through these things, to understand the world that we're in, to comprehend the world that we're in. And it appeals to what we might refer to as nature's God, making not too many claims necessarily upon what that is or what it might be, just in case we're wrong. It's, again, a disposition toward humility. So where the church becomes the fruit of faith, liberal society is the fruit of reason. Everybody gets upset about liberalism, especially in conservative circles, because it's badly misunderstood.
Everyone gets upset
The
about
American experiment is the
especially in
thing I mean by the word
circles.
liberal.
Yeah.
I don't mean woke people. They are not liberal in any regard whatsoever. They are anti-liberal. Liberalism, and you've probably never heard it this way, I think rests at its very bottom on
Eric, yeah,
a
we agree.
very
It would be super cool
parsimonious
if you would
answer
get
to the
back
question
to-
of what's
to the
going on
Gnostic
here.
parasite.
Sure, it'd be
What's
a lot
the world
cooler
and what
if you
are we
actually
in it?
talked about
That's the
Gnosticism.
big ontological question. And it's very parsimonious. It's very circumspect in what answer it will give. It doesn't want to say too much, is what that means. So it says that something like God or nature's God, or nature at least, is real and can be known about. And it makes no claim on which one of those things is the right answer to that question. So reality exists and can be known about because it's ordered, in other words. We call that philosophy, or in the Greek, to exaggerate, philosophia, the love of wisdom. Not just Sophia, which would derive sophistry, which is wizardry. It's using words wrong
We
to pretend
do
you know
derive
things you
wizardry
don't.
from
So
Sophia.
it's something like that which is greater than any of
got
us
that one
exists.
right.
That's premise one. And two, we're not that. We're not that. A lot
Gnostic
follows from that
ontology. James
belief.
Lindsay is
The
the real
humility
Gnostic parasite.
of reason, which is reinforced and girded when it has faith connected to it. Reason, the classical liberals understood, is something that is limited and fallen. We are corruptible. Maybe we're wholly corrupt. That's a question for Mr. Calvin. But it's limited. We aren't God. If you follow from that premise, we're not God, we can't know everything. That, in practical terms, immediately limits authority. It limits political authority. It limits authority one over another. It limits scientific or epistemological authority. I don't get to say I know just because I know, or because I have a PhD, or because I am Anthony Fauci, or whatever else. I am an expert. That's not enough. In faith, the belief is that God alone holds authority, the ultimate and only true authority, especially in some sense moral authority. And
Back in the day, we would have called this guy a lol cow on 4chan or Encyclopedia Dramatica, particularly on Encyclopedia Dramatica. We would have called this guy a lol cow because it's just, lol cows are just like anti-human personalities. They're just internet-only personalities who exist only to create ridiculous internet drama. Like, he's practically on Chris Chan level.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say anything about this freeze frame here.
Nothing needs to be
not
said.
intentional.
limited authority in man. From that, therefore, follows we must have freedom of belief. Freedom of religion is a starting place, but belief entirely. We can't compel somebody to believe, because what if we're wrong? If I compel you to believe in my vision of God and I'm wrong, I damn you too. If I coerce you or exhort you or trick you or seduce you to believe, I get a millstone, is what it says. That's bad. And so a reasonable approach says we can't do that. If we take it from the position of looking at nature or nature's God, it's epistemic authority. We must have freedom of speech. We must have freedom of thought. We must have freedom of assembly. We must have the capacity to test claims, and we only give authority to what proves itself to work. Nobody gets to be just the expert because they're the expert. They might be wrong. And if they're wrong, there will be consequences. The Bill of Rights follows immediately from this conception of liberalism, especially what I was just talking about. We've got the First Amendment. We're protecting free.
I just had a realization. Because I saw Matt's comment, I think he'll inadvertently create new Gnostics and heretics if they learn under their own will. Yeah, if they go look up, so like people actually go look up on Gnosticism on Wikipedia, they might be like, wait, this is kind of cool. But I realized something. Isn't there? Somebody in the chat will, I'm sure, know this. And this is in regards to him standing in front of the demiurge. Isn't there a thing about the demiurge is insane and is babbling?
That's exactly what he's doing.
Like, isn't that actually in the Gnostic Gospels that it's like definitely the demiurge is insane. That's definitely canon. But I think there might also be like an Azathoth type thing where it's babbling incoherently, or its speech is confused. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe Frater RC knows about that. But one way or another, yeah, the demiurge is insane. And then so if this guy is working for the demiurge, like, there you go. It's just Choronzonic, like, spew. It's literally Choronzon.
Yeah, and he's just not, he's talking, he's saying a lot of words, but he's saying basically nothing at the same time, too.
I think I know what this demon is now.
Free speech, belief, assembly, etc. We've got, we'll get to it, even the Second Amendment. We've definitely got the Fourth Amendment to protect your property. The Bill of Rights follows straight from these concepts. The entire American experiment tumbles out of this assumption, this very, very humble assumption that, yeah, the world is real and we can know something about it, and it appears to be.
That makes sense because he's removed from the Logos. So that actually makes sense. That's great.
What does that mean?
Because the demiurge is removed from the Logos, therefore it cannot reason. It's insane and it can't speak correctly. Right? Because the Logos is the word.
Wow. So this dude wow.
It's a little minor servitor of the demiurge running around.
Damn.
So, yeah, and that's interesting. That's an interesting take on it. So now all of a sudden the fact that he's incoherent is not so reassuring.
Wait, read Willie Todd's comment.
Hate to admit it, but I listened to this guy a few times and was led to other things like you because of him years ago. Okay, well, there you go. See, the demiurge is doomed, and the demiurge knows that it's doomed. And so even in its flailing as it dies, it can't help but turn people towards freedom. Yeah. There are monsters under your bed, and they are trans-commie wizards. Another Mr. Wizard. Amazing. Okay.
Ordered, but we're limited. Therefore, we are not God. Therefore, we don't have authority to say anything absolutely. In other words, we can't be Gnostics. When reason is functioning properly, we cannot be Gnostics. Worldly authority in liberalism is borrowed, and it's always subjected to reason. You have to prove yourself. You have to convince a plurality of your peers to lend you authority.
Okay, so tell you what, let's bind this demon right here. I'm not even joking, and it's not just because I'm high. If this is a Choronzonic manifestation, right, which is, it's not exactly the same thing as the demiurge, but if we're looking at what he's doing as a Choronzonic type thing, it's the Babel. We could also talk about the Babel of Amproteus, the Cliff-Off of the Fool, or something like that. But there is a one known way to silence Choronzon, and that is silence. See? It only interacts if you interact with it directly. So you don't think about, his points are meaningless. There's like nothing to follow there. It's just babble. So the thing that gets people hooked in, I suppose, is they're actually trying to interact with it, or they think that it's coherent, right? Because people don't have enough self-awareness, or they haven't meditated, or they don't have enough presence of mind to not realize when they're being basically hypnotized.
I felt like yesterday when I was watching this, like usually I listen to like lectures and stuff like that when I'm doing chores, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to James and see what he says. And usually I can like run through these things. I love listening to them, but I could not listen to this dude. I was like, ah, I had to pause it like literally like 5 times within 30 minutes, and that's when I decided to move forward with something
Yeah.
else.
I feel like we've probably got the point on this one.
Yeah, and we've also been going for like 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's only halfway through now. So just consider that. It's like he's just gonna keep going.
And like, I don't know if he's like gonna make a point that we haven't already discerned.
There wasn't a point.
Somebody said something about James Lindsay and conservative MILFs, and I would like to know more about that.
This is wild. So, but what can we infer from this? It's like the babble of the demiurge. Like, is what he's saying just all the thing? Like, the demiurge is afraid. That's its
Yes.
nature. That it's the blind idiot god. It's afraid because it knows its time is over,
Yes.
and it knows that it's not God, and it knows, and it's been hiding that from everyone, and it knows that people know. So, is what he's revealing here in a way a list of the things that it fears, or would that too be re-engaging with it?
That's the issue. I think the fear of transcendence is unfortunate because it's a wonderful experience if one is so inclined to have it. This touches on a lot, but nothing at all.
And
We could have had an interesting conversation about Gnosticism.
Yeah, and yet, and yet,
And somehow now we're at critical race theory.
it's
Like,
just
what?
everything. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't got Obama in more.
But he definitely got Fauci in a lot.
A preacher would at least take a break to ask for tithes. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like this is, but also a preacher wouldn't even talk this long, and this is why they got like people playing like guitar in church now and things like that, just to keep people's attention.
Yeah. So I think perhaps the best, because honestly, with that 1 second of silence, my brain felt so much better. I don't think I can go back into it.
Yeah,
Like, we
I
literally
think we're
have an
done.
hour left.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
So, guys, I think somebody mentioned something about brain rot. I personally feel like at least we had a good conversation with you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's been productive. Now we know what it is.
Occultology, don't you ever mention this dude in our Discord again. Ever.
You guys make me work overtime, and I have to bind demons. Fuck.
I'm going to go ahead and link the Discord in the chat in just 1 second.
All right.
Join the Discord, guys, if you want to keep the
Yes,
conversation going.
it's been popping. It's been popping off in the Discord. We're having fun with it.
There was a comment on here. Someone in the Q&A is going to ask, so what is Gnosticism?
Exactly. Oh man. All right. Well, like and subscribe, guys. What else? I think that's it.
I think that's about it for us tonight. We're going to have to, we have, sound bowls. We're going to have to,
Sage the house.
bang
Yeah,
those
no,
a
just,
few times.
just we will just ignore him. I mean, it's like
do
there's-
some mantras.
the way there's just even that is to give it power. It's just like just ignore it. All right.
Well then, thank you guys for joining the stream.
Thanks for tuning in, and tune in for our stream tomorrow at 7:30. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.